I just started YouTube Live, trying to get to 4,000 watch hours, and YouTube Live hours count. So I'm going to try to keep this going for a while today. And through the link at the top of your screens, please join YouTube Live, even if you can just keep it open on a tab and mute it, which is totally fine. If you prefer to listen here in X, that's fine. But we need to get some people over to YouTube Live, even if it just means that it's muted in the background. So the link is at the top of your screens. So how is Apple Watch doing for you? Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah, it's fun. I've used it for about 2 to 3 hours a day, every day since I got it. I'm mostly using it for entertainment, watching movies, TV shows. I think you saw a couple of the videos where I used it to play piano, learn piano stuff, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard you can do that on Meta Quest too. So like it's not like this, I guess, crazy unique feature just on Apple Vision, but still, I don't have Meta Quest right now, and I have Vision Pro, so that's been fun. And it's like I think that specific use case for me with the piano thing totally shows that like people are going to use Vision Pro for what they need or want to use it for. Because I could see people just using it for something like that and finding enough value out of it if it's useful to them. But it's still early days. I mean, they got to build out the app library and find more uses for people to use it.
Do you feel like you were able to learn new songs easier using Apple Vision Pro?
100%. I mean, I played Interstellar. So the video I uploaded of Interstellar, that was the first take. Like I didn't play it 2 or 3 times before to try and get good at it. That was the first time I played it. And I didn't play it perfectly, but I could, that probably would have taken me 6 to 8 hours to learn the different sections. And that was literally the first take. And I recorded it and basically played the whole song. So, it's that style, at least for me, that style of learning definitely speeds the process up for sure.
So with Apple Vision Pro, you were able to, on the first take, play a song as if you've been practicing it for half a day, if not a full day.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's an insane increase in productivity. And then did you try the same song again later on?
I did. I kept playing it. I there was something I screwed up in that recording, and I wanted to re-record it. So I did keep playing it, but I ended up just posting the first one.
Have you tried other new songs?
I have. There's the way that app specifically works, there's about 20 songs that are preloaded, mostly classical pieces, but you can upload any song into the app if you upload a MIDI file, MIDI file. And so I signed up to a Patreon account that's $3 a month, and you get 1,000 MIDI files. So yeah, I've been testing other songs, and I'm not an incredible pianist, so I can't play super complex songs, but that version is a quote unquote easy version, and I can play a lot of other easy versions of songs now. When I don't know, when I first started playing in the spaces 6 months ago, I really only knew 5 or 6 songs, and now I probably could pull up a library of 100 songs and roughly play it at least.
That's very impressive. So what are you going to play for us next time?
Well,
hold on. So let me ask you this. When you play for us next time, are you going to be wearing the Vision Pro, you think?
I guess if I play one of the songs through there, yeah. Because even in Interstellar, I don't know the whole song by memory. So I'd have to play it through the app, and then my phone is on Spaces or something. But I may not be playing for a while because the piano is going into storage. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, just a quick reminder, we have YouTube Live going on at the same time, and YouTube Live hours count toward the 4,000 watch hours milestone that I need for monetization. So we got there on the subscribers, but I also have to get there for watch hours. So if you don't mind, I would appreciate it if you could just open up YouTube Live through the link at the top of your screens and just keep it in the background. Even if it's muted, that's fine. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Tesla is down 3% today, $570 billion market cap. The overall markets are down as well after a hot CPI reading. Dow Jones down 2%, NASDAQ down 2.2%, S&P 500 down 2%. All sectors are down today. So it's a macro sell-off. Treasury yields are up double digits, especially the short end of the curve up. Rate cut expectations are pushed out to June. Oil prices are also up to $78 per barrel. Natural gas prices continue to plunge 5% today at $1.67. I've never seen this low prices before. Very interesting. The only takeaway from the inflation report is that shelter comprises most of the inflation. Shelter continues to comprise most of the inflation. Higher for longer, it seems. Let's see if Machine is in here to talk about it. No, he's not just yet. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Steve, what else is on your mind? How are you handling the stock price declines?
It's all right. I've got a long-term view, so I'm not overly worried about it. I did on like the last pull or the first pullback to like 180. I did buy some calls there and then sold them at like 194. So just trying to use some opportunities like that to almost DCA my way back into it. But yeah, long term.
All right. Omar summarized yesterday saying long term, Machine summarized yesterday and said the upside value is going to come from FSD, robotaxis, Optimus at this time because vehicle margins doesn't appear to be improving. We had a minor price increase, but overall, I think this quarter's ASP average selling price will be lower than last quarter, I would think. Let's see if Joe tagged I guess today's a Tuesday, so he wouldn't have a tweet. Let's look at Sawyer's tweets. There's a crash that could be on FSD, but the Washington Post article headline says at the top of your screens, Tesla worker killed in fiery crash may be first full self-driving fatality. Evidence suggests the advanced driver assistance system was engaged during a fatal crash that killed recruiter Hans von Ohain in 2022. Sawyer says the driver had a blood alcohol level of 0.26, more than 3 times the legal limit, but sure blames FSD. Washington Post didn't give any direct evidence that FSD beta was engaged when the crash happened. Moral of the whole story, don't drink and drive. Randy is requesting to speak. Let's bring him up. If Wes wants to come up and talk about, he's welcome. Randy?
Hey, I was wondering if you guys ever heard of Tesla not being able to sell Model S and X because of homologation. I went to pick up my S yesterday, and they told me that they're not allowed to sell me my S because they don't sell enough cars in the U.S. now, and they have to fill out homologation paperwork.
I've heard similar issue in Europe. This was years ago, though. How long do you think it's going to take? Did they say?
He said he has no idea. I just picked up a Y a couple months ago, had no problem, and then he said, we don't even know what this is about. We got to figure it out. I didn't know if it was a new attack from the government, or I'm not seeing it on mainstream media anywhere, but he said they're not allowed to sell any Model S or X, and I can't imagine that that's the case.
Okay, so first you said Model S, but also Model X is also included?
Yeah, and he said it's to do with this word homologation, which I looked it up, and it has to do with like when not enough cars are sold, and it looks like race cars mostly. So I don't know if it's, you know, something new that's going on, but I'm not seeing it anywhere else.
Okay, thank you for sharing. If anyone has more information, you're welcome to come up, request to speak, talk about it. First time I'm hearing about that. Yeah, we had a similar homologation issue in Europe. I wonder, let me see when that was. I think it was one of the reasons why the Model 3 sales in Europe got delayed into early 2019, but we can ask Sawyer if he comes in here, or Omar.
Oh, thanks.
Sure. Wazel Live says, is the space cutting in and out again? Is anyone hearing issues?
You were.
Is it better now?
I haven't heard it in a little bit. Yeah, it's been better.
Wes is giving me a thumbs up, but I have no idea. Thumbs up. If my audio is good right now, please give me a thumbs up. If the audio is bad, please give me a thumbs down. I'm getting a mix. That's weird. All right. Okay, mostly thumbs up. Robert Lapinto says, hey Yaman, fiery is pronounced fire-y, not fiery. Okay. Wes?
Hey, as a listener, it was cutting out for me on my Android phone. And on my browser, it wasn't working either. So I started the YouTube stream.
Is the audio better on YouTube?
Oh yeah, it's near perfect on YouTube. And then as a speaker, I can hear fine. So here I am a speaker.
All right. If you want better audio, go to YouTube Live through the link at the top of your screens. That also helps watch hours for monetization purposes. So I guess that's a silver lining. Or you can come up to speaker board. Either way, it works. Ken says he switched to YouTube. Pilot Dude says, does Tesla break out Supercharger earnings in their quarterly filings? And the answer is no. Tesla does not break out Supercharger earnings in the quarterly filings. But my understanding is that it's break even. Wes, what do you make of this Washington Post article on a potential FSD related accident?
My kind of first blush thing is that this person, obviously had a very high blood alcohol content level. So they may have used full self-driving to get them home. But that's inconclusive at this point and non-deterministic because we'd need to see the logs for that. So it sounds like this is just currently it's clickbait journalism, unfortunately, because they don't have deterministic evidence to suggest that FSD was being used. It's just a drunk driver, which is super sad. So anyway, that's my first take.
Thank you, Wes.
And then maybe I'll just do real quickly a longer term take is that every single one of these have always come down to getting a log and seeing that FSD is not at fault. And the driver always maintains liability currently. So that's my extra 2 cents to add.
Thank you. So in the replies about the audio, people are saying, cutting in and out on iPhone, perfect on the web. Cutting in and out via the mobile app on Android through X mobile web in Chrome, it's fine. And on YouTube Live, audio is fine. So at the top of your screen is the link to the YouTube Live session. That's all going on at the same time. Wes, what do you think about Randy's question on homologation for the Model S and X?
I've done homologation. That's the correct pronunciation. And this is required for any vehicle that's being manufactured in one country and then shipped to another. You have to comply with all of the requirements of the country where it's going to be registered and sold. So it depends, honestly. Like if you're just bringing it into the country, then typically it's fine. Like you don't really have to do anything. And then if a company is doing it, that's different. Then you have to comply by a whole bunch of stuff. So I think the question was simply for him to import it. Is that correct, or did I misinterpret that?
Randy?
No, I live in Pennsylvania, and I think they're built in California, right?
Then there's no homologation.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
No idea.
Yeah, that's not a thing. It's only country to country.
Yeah, I called to Devin Tesla too and said they're like, I don't even know what they're talking about. So I suspected something with Mechanicsburg, PA.
It sounds like somebody's misinterpreting what's happening.
So I learned to pronounce 2 words today. Homologation, right, Wes? Homologation.
Yep, that's right.
And fiery. That's good. We're only 10 minutes in. Question in YouTube Live text segment, chat. If I buy full price FSD after buying the car, does it cost more? I'd like to finance the car, but pay the FSD rather than increase what I finance. It costs the same, Justin, if you buy FSD after. Trying to see if there are any other questions. Man, this is great. I think we're getting a lot of new participants with all these questions. So you can leave your question in the chat, in the replies, or you can go to YouTube Live and put it in the chat there. And I also appreciate it when people answer each other's questions. It takes off the load. We have next big feature in the audience. If he wants to come up to speaker board, he's welcome. If Jimmy wants to come up, he's welcome. Oh, we have Yutzi. If he wants to talk some CPI, we can do that a little bit. Wes, what do you think about the recent declines in the stock price?
Yeah, it's not hurting me. I'm selling covered calls against it as it either maintains or goes down a little bit, so that's not been a problem. So continuing to make money. I'm not worried. I just wish, the impossible would be made faster, as always. So it's not worrying to me. It's really interesting to see these price declines, though. I don't understand really. It's hard for me to equate that to weakening demand, especially for a certain period of time of the year. I'm not sure that that's a thing. I mean, for Tesla anyway, I know it's a thing in general. But yeah, it's just time will tell. I don't value the company any less, though. That's where I'm at.
I saw a headline this morning as I was doing some research that said, I think it was a CNBC headline, and I'm curious about your thoughts, Wes, or anybody else who wants to request to speak. Elon's, compensation after the decision, the board has been quiet. It's been a couple of weeks now, right? So we haven't seen an appeal coming yet. We haven't seen any word on new compensation structure. What do you think is going on?
Yeah, I just assume that it takes time. And I also assume that the board is going to work on something. And if I had to guess, I would think that they probably thought that this didn't require an emergency meeting, and it would take anywhere from a month to 3 months. And I'm sure there's conversation between Elon and the board about that, he's not going to make any rash judgments. And there was a lot of conversation in the documentation from the Chancery Court about how well he'd be compensated. So that went on for quite a long time. So I don't think there's any rush. And again, I'm not worried. It just, that's normal, that it takes time.
Got it. Any other views? Please request to speak. Sawyer, Tesla North America posted, using the standard technology on a Tesla can save departments over $4,000 in police equipment. Also, significantly lower cost of ownership. The district expects $640 a year to charge each Tesla versus the estimated $2,000 it would spend on gas for a traditional police vehicle. Over 10 years, one-time expense of charging station installation plus yearly electricity cost is cheaper than gas and oil. Almost no maintenance required. That's great. There you go. Tesla has officially opened ordering in the US for its next generation Powerwall 3 home battery. One Powerwall 3 costs $5,880, the same as Powerwall 2, not including installation, but including the 30% federal tax credit. Specs obviously are much better than Powerwall 2. So Tesla was able to keep the price the same and improve the product greatly from Powerwall 2 to Powerwall 3. New Model S and X yoke is now being delivered. Tesla has started delivering the new yoke steering, center horn, more stitching, and overall better build quality. We have 50 people in YouTube Live, and thank you very much everybody for supporting this space by watching it on YouTube Live today, and possibly just this week. If we I think if we get a couple hundred people in there, we can get to 4,000 watch hours and meet the second monetization requirement this week, by the end of this week. Wes?
Hey, so one of my previous jobs was working for the company that makes Taser. The company is called Axon, and they obviously support every single police station with Taser weapons. And I used to go and visit police stations for implementing AI and vision in police vehicles. And I can say without a doubt that the highest cost that police stations have in police vehicles is fuel. And then second is brakes, replacing brakes. And then third is HVAC maintenance, because the officers leave that on all the time and the car is running all of the time. And it's just a no-brainer for police stations to transition to electric vehicles, especially Teslas. So the other thing that kept police stations from transitioning was the fact that the third-party suppliers of like the light bars and the laptop holders, in police vehicles, they weren't providing specific hardware for Teslas, but they do now. So it's a very easy transition for police stations to make that transition. Most police stations had a 4-year contract with Ford for Explorers, the Interceptor variant of the Explorer. And I believe that a lot of those contracts are now going to expire, in the next 1 to 2 years, now that Teslas are fully supported by the third-party police vehicle hardware outfitters. So I would expect a very large transition. Now, granted, there's not a whole lot of police vehicles sold in the United States, but the turnover is really fast. So you can expect somewhere between 100 and 150,000 police vehicle turnover about every 18 months, roughly, because they drive them so much. So anyway, I thought I'd add a little color there.
Thank you. That's valuable information. Thank you very much, Wes. Yesterday, we had a lengthy conversation about Cybertruck as a real truck, work truck. And some people had concerns. Omar wasn't as concerned. I'm not either. We have 2 million reservations, more than 2 million reservations for the Cybertruck from more than 1 million people. And I think worrying about near-term demand from construction sites for the Cybertruck is similar to worrying about demand from people who live in apartment buildings. Demand for other Tesla vehicles from people who live in apartment buildings. That's an edge, kind of like the last few percent. Before that, we have 80% of the world that we can transition to Teslas and EVs in general before we start worrying about those edge cases. In Austin, most apartment buildings have chargers. Whether it's level 1, level 2, it's kind of irrelevant because they're charging overnight anyway. So, and then there's a ton of Supercharger stations, charge point stations, other charging stations. And that's probably going to be the norm in other cities with time. So I wouldn't worry about those last few percent of edge cases just yet. Tesla is down 3.1%, 42 PE ratio, $570 billion market cap. We have more than $20 billion of cash on the balance sheet. So $570 billion of market cap minus $20 billion excess cash. That gets us to $550 billion of enterprise value. We don't have any recourse debt. So any questions, comments, please request to speak. We have a question in YouTube Live. that says, have any legal experts or corporate governance experts weighed in on potential or expected timing for the comp package being resolved or the judgment response timeline? Maybe this is a good question for Omar, a welcoming question. Omar, this is going to make you feel warm inside and welcome. What do you think about the corporate governance issues and Elon's and everything? Judgment timelines, or where's the comp package? It's been a few weeks since we got the judgment, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a few different possibilities or ways to do it. Legal stuff is not something that moves all that quickly. I mean, they filed this case like 5 years ago or something. So they may try and appeal it. They may just reincorporate in a different state. So, I'm sure they're going to figure it out. I'm not like too worried about the details. This is kind of one of the things that the lawyers figure out. So, it seems like they are going to vote to reincorporate in Texas. So that may be the way forward. Then they're just out of Delaware's jurisdiction. I think it's really important that Tesla just be incorporated somewhere where the votes of shareholders go above everything, right? You don't want to have an issue where all the shareholders vote, yes, let's do this. And then some judge elected by some guy in Delaware is, actually overriding what the shareholders have decided. So I think that is the most important thing. Whether we achieve that by an appeal in Delaware or by moving to Texas or whatever, I don't think it really matters. But Texas and Nevada do have some sort of provisions that are more friendly towards shareholders compared to, letting judges really set really unprecedented case law like we've seen in this case.
Thank you. If we have any experts in the audience, you're welcome to request to speak and share your opinion. We have 53 people in YouTube Live right now. And if someone in YouTube Live chat could please let me know if the background noise has improved, I would appreciate that. I took a couple of actions here. I wonder if that made a difference. Oh, Wes is in there too. Thank you, Wes. Wes is on the, look at this. This is exemplary behavior. Wes is on X Space, on speaker board. He's also on YouTube Live. He's answering questions on YouTube Live. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate your support. All right, sound good, it says. And then, this is really good. X Space audio seems in and out on iPhone mobile app, but seems fine on the web. YouTube Live audio seems fine. Great. Man, this is a really different experience on YouTube Live. Like, I see every single comment, and people are really chatty. Someone just told me to learn English. Get a lot of love. Okay, this is fun. Omar, do you have any comments on the Washington Post article about potentially on FSD accident?
Yeah, so, I think that this is kind of just typical of these guys, like Faiz Siddiqui, if you know him and his articles. He's always just writing these articles about how FSD is horrible, right? So they've been scouring every corner of the earth looking for some example of some crash on FSD beta where they can blame Tesla. And, so they have this incident. I think it's from like a few years ago or something, maybe 2022 or something like that. And basically there was a guy who was incredibly drunk. His passenger was drunk. He happened to be a Tesla employee in Colorado. And they were basically drunk and they got in a crash and they died. Now, he was driving a Tesla. The Tesla had FSD beta on it. His wife said he liked to use FSD beta all the time. And the passenger said that he believed he was using some auto drive functionality before the crash. But we don't really have any official confirmation that FSD beta was on or not. So an official confirmation would be like you really look at the vehicle logs and it says FSD beta on. Now with a witness, even if the witness says, okay, auto drive was on, we don't know, for example, did FSD beta try and drive off the road and cause a crash? Did the guy accidentally disengage and not realize it and then crash? Did he hit the brake or something? Did he hit the accelerator? There are a lot of different things. A lot of people want to rush to judgment and blame Tesla in these incidents, and then we find out facts and circumstances that really change the picture of what happened. So I would urge people to not jump to conclusions like the Washington Post and Fred had. Like, if you have a Tesla with FSD beta and the guy is using FSD beta all the time, like if I'm on FSD beta all the time. So if I were to crash, I would probably be on FSD beta when the crash happened. Let's say someone, came out of nowhere and rear-ended me, right? And I got in a crash. Well, it would technically be an FSD beta crash. But is FSD beta to blame for the crash? Or is a human to blame for the crash? In this case, it's crystal clear, especially a Tesla employee definitely knows this. FSD beta is not an autonomous system. It's a driver assistance system. You have to be fully aware. You have to pay attention. We don't know if it made a mistake or not, but it absolutely can make mistakes. And you have to be aware and you have to be ready to take over. And it's not a tool that allows you to drive drunk. So this is an example of a drunk driving crash. Lots of people die every year because of drunk driving. This is sadly one of them. And this is why we're developing this software. When this software is fully driverless or even gets close to that level of reliability, it'll eliminate drunk driving deaths. Already today, there have been a lot of drunk driving deaths that have been prevented by this software. You have an example, for example, where someone was drunk, they passed out on the highway. They would have normally died and taken out several other people with them. But instead, the cops just pulled them over. They arrested them. They charged them with the DUI. And that guy's still alive today, walking and breathing. So to kind of paint this as if Tesla created DUIs or Tesla invented DUIs, that's not the issue here, right? An autopilot can prevent many crashes, but it's not going to prevent 100% of the crashes. You have to be attentive. If you're 3 times the legal limit and you fail to be able to use it correctly, take over, that is squarely on the driver. And I mean, if somebody's drunk, I'd rather have them probably have FSD than not have FSD. But you obviously shouldn't drive at all. If you're drunk, FSD doesn't change that. So, this happened years ago. This isn't something where I think NHTSA is going to ban the software or anything like that. They obviously know about this. It was reported to NHTSA. They didn't see any need to take action. So NHTSA clearly believes that it was the driver's fault. No lawyer is even taking this case because the driver was so drunk that nobody, and lawyers.
YouTube Live, hold for 1 second. Hold for 1 second. I'm restarting the X app to see if that fixes the issue. Audio will be right back. Okay.
In any other car, probably much more quickly. So it's a little bit silly. They're taking a technology that is actually going to end drunk driving and is preventing drunk driving deaths already. We know that it has. And they're taking it and they're saying that it's actually the cause of this crash, which I think was squarely on the humans' shoulders. And I mean, you kind of wonder when you're 3 times the legal limit, legal limit's 0.08. They were blowing a 0.26 in the autopsy. And I mean, you kind of think like, how do you handle the nag when you're that drunk? How do you touch it just enough to set it off, but not too much to get it to turn off? It'd probably be very challenging. So if there was some issue, it looks to me more like an issue where it was an accidental disengagement potentially, if he was using FSD beta, rather than an issue where FSD beta drove off the road or anything like that. Because in general, FSD beta is very good at staying on the road, even in curves. So let's not jump to conclusions here. Let's wait and see. It seems like this was a drunk driving incident. I'm sure Tesla will actually have a statement on this, and they'll give us more information that they have about this incident. And I bet there's some other factors that we don't even know about. I wouldn't be surprised if either FSD beta was off at the time of the crash, or if it was disengaged, either accidentally or intentionally, in a way that led to this crash. So, long story short, really tragic crash, but one of many drunk driving crashes. And this is really the reason why we're doing all of this, because in the future, somebody who's driving a Tesla, even if they're shit-faced, should never get in a crash, because the car software just has their back.
Thank you, Omar.
Yeah, I bought $25,000 worth of Tesla shares today.
Oh, wow. Going all in?
No, not all in, but more in. And so, I mean, I just see these kinds of things as an opportunity, right? You've got this incredible technology, it's advancing, and you kind of see these stories, they're FUD stories, really. We don't even know whether this guy was using FSD beta yet, and even if he was, that doesn't take away his responsibility to monitor the car and make sure it doesn't crash. So we know this, NHTSA knows this, they're not going to ban this. We have had other incidents where people have died while drunk or in a similar situation, and they had ADAS on. And this doesn't lead to ADAS getting banned or any new regulations. This is well understood. People understand that, look, just because the ADAS was on does not mean it was the ADAS's fault. There's other factors, such as the human, their state of mind, that type of thing. And I don't see this really affecting NHTSA or NTSB or the sort of regulatory approach at all. Tesla seems to have a good handle on that. And in those past cases, for example, like, Jeremy Banner or other incidents, autopilot wasn't banned, development continued. So it's sad, but it's unfortunately a fact of life. This is why we're doing this, right? Over 1 million people die every year in a car crash. Over 40,000 Americans every year. And I think like a third of that or something is related to intoxication, which is just crazy, right? So we're talking tens of thousands of people dying in drunk driving incidents. And they pick the one guy who was in a Tesla because, oh my God, it's a Tesla. That's why this is happening. No, it's not why it's happening. It's happening because drunk driving is a major issue. And this is actually the technology that's going to end drunk driving. So it's really just your typical completely backwards reporting in the media. Someone invents the technology that's going to end drunk driving, and they act like it's actually causing drunk driving.
Yeah. All right. Wes is absolutely slaying it in YouTube Live right now. He's now the moderator as well. He's a speaker on X Spaces. He's a moderator on YouTube Live. is attending both, so I get watch hours. Man. He actually put in a link from NHTSA.gov now in risky driving. Goodness, Wes. It's amazing. So I guess people are still having some audio issues on X Spaces, even though YouTube Live seems to be fine. So you can either go to YouTube Live, or you can switch to listening on x.com instead of the mobile app. Wes?
I don't know if you've tried like changing your settings to see if you can get the audio to not cut out, or maybe it's just completely not on your side. It just seems odd that other spaces don't have this happening, but you know, I guess your mileage may vary.
Yeah. I'm not sure what setting would be the issue because I'm at home. There's no ambient noise. There's no.
Do you have that?
There's no
noise
AirPod.
canceling on?
I have noise canceling on. Let me see. But
so the only thing is that
Omar's sound audio is also cutting off, so it has nothing to do with my voice. These people say. I don't get.
I don't know how they do their audio mixing, you know. But if you're the source,
here's what we're gonna do. We're going to restart the X space, but before that, if you could please attend the YouTube live session for the next few days, that'll get us over to 4,000 watch hours, I believe. So you can also do that as well. So the link is at the top of your screens to YouTube live, and now we're going to restart the X space and see if that works. So check my page in about 10 seconds. All right. Any questions on YouTube Live? Let's see. There's some talk about wheels and rounds, and this is really cool. I really like the chat function over here. It's so much better. Like, why don't we have this on X Spaces? The chat should be on the side, just like this. Oh, hi, Steve. All right. We're back. Omar is back. Wes is back. Oh, Steve, good job. Steve is reminding everyone on YouTube Live to hit the like button. Thank you, Steve. I'm gonna make, because of that, I'm gonna add you as a moderator, just like Wes. Omar, how are you?
Hey.
It's been a long time.
Oh, I forgot to mention I got a Cybertruck VIN today.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Hell yeah.
So you said you are 1200th Cybertruck VIN, I think?
1994.
Okay. Wes?
Hey, that's awesome, dude. Congrats. When did you place your original reservation?
Original reservation night of, like a few hours after, and I configured on December 11th.
Sweet. That's so cool.
And then one thing that I noticed was, you know, like, I saw some people on Twitter who had ordered like February or December 20 something, and they were getting VINs, and I was like, hey, what the hell? Like, shouldn't I be getting a VIN first? So then I went into my thing, and I had like gotten a financing offer from Tesla, and it had expired because it had been so long. So I had to resubmit the financing offer, and then they said, okay, you're approved for financing again. Next day, I got the VIN. So if you're doing the financing through Tesla or through a Tesla connected lender, and you're not seeing your VIN, make sure you have all the steps done and that your financing is there. I might, you know, even put it in cash or say third-party lender, because then that sort of eliminates the issue. But I'm not sure if that was the issue or it was just a coincidence, but the timing was definitely interesting that I noticed that and fixed it, and then a VIN popped up the next day.
What would you tell people who are waiting for their VINs as moral sport, Omar?
One day soon, you'll get your VIN.
That's it. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are taking delivery of the Cybertruck.
These people are in pain, Omar. They're in pain.
It's really happening. Every day I'm seeing people tweet, hey, I got my Cybertruck. I saw one guy yesterday. He's got an F-150 Lightning. He just got the Cybertruck too. He's parking the Cybertruck in the garage now, and the F-150's kicked out to the street. I saw another guy who, got a Cybertruck. Like, all kinds of people taking delivery. People I know. I drove one. Every day, people are taking deliveries of Cybertrucks, which is kind of an amazing thing, Here we are. It just felt like, so much stuff happened with the pandemic. All the new vehicles were delayed, and people are taking deliveries of their Cybertruck. Would we love if it was maybe the $80,000 version rather than the Foundation series? Yeah, that's going to be awesome when they start doing that and giving the credit. But it's just amazing that people are even taking delivery, and it's a real vehicle you can see on the streets.
Great. Habib is also the moderator at YouTube Live now. Wes, Steve, all-star team. Tesla Scope, welcome. How are you?
Doing well. How's everyone doing today?
Do you like my radio voice? Welcome. How are you? All cheery based on Omar's advice yesterday.
I think little things do make a big impact. So
we have a great show for you today. He told me to say.
We've got a great show for you today, guys. So stay tuning in right on the station that gives you what we want. That's TSLA Live.
There's no place you'd rather be than here in TSLA Live. Thank you for coming.
That's awesome. That's so cool. All right. So what's new with you?
I guess with me or just like Tesla news?
Both.
I'm pretty bored. I came back from a 3 or 4 day trip to Tucson to visit family. I was literally 2 minutes down the road from Ryan of the Kilowatts. Apparently, at one point, he was at an event in Tucson that I wasn't aware of. Both we crossed paths like 2 or 3 times on Superchargers. He was coming from Texas with the new Cybertruck he just took delivery of. I was coming from the South Bay area in California. But that was a great trip. I saw 3 Cybertrucks on our way through each Supercharger. A lot of them were in Indio on their way back to Los Angeles, I assume. But yeah, it's been a great past couple of days. We had full self-driving version 12.2 go out to some vehicles about 3 days ago. Another version is expected to come out in the next couple of days for including hardware for vehicles, so that they'll all be on the newer, the newer build. And then we're going to kind of see how things go from there. I've been told distinctly to not expect any rollouts until that hardware 4 version, that it will include both hardware 4 and hardware 3. But once that comes out, that's when we can start paying attention again. But besides that, we're kind of waiting on that right now.
When will Omar get his...
And are we expecting this to go to more early access testers with the 12.2 build?
Yes, this will be, if everything goes well, this will finally be the build. They just needed to do a little bit more testing based on both obviously the feedback that you were running into, but just a lot of the employees who were also having access were kind of giving the same amount of feedback. So things are looking a little bit better. I'm hopeful once you get it on your vehicle, we'll hopefully get your opinion as well and see how things are looking, if any of those little issues have been resolved, and kind of go from there.
Have you heard any early feedback from employees who do have V12.2?
Very limited. So between 12.1.2 and this version going out, Tesla actually sent another kind of disclaimer to every single employee, and I believe it's universal across the company, but I know for sure it was all employees in Wave 1, which is their early access program. And they basically said, like, we're going to be taking it more seriously if we find that you've been leaking information. That can include release notes, and it also now includes reviews. So there have actually been a number of employees who had posted kind of their recaps of FSD 12, even in the weeks prior that have now redacted or removed their posts. No one has been terminated as far as I know, but they are saying that they are going to take it more seriously. So the amount of employees that volunteered information is a lot less than in prior builds. So with that in mind, and just to keep them safe, I would say it's still kind of a further continuous progression. Anyone who was already on the 12.1.2 build or even the 12.1 who hadn't updated yet is saying that it's a little bit more stable. Someone insinuated that there was some improvements on highway, even though there shouldn't be any changes yet. They might be subjective, but that's pretty much all I can share so far.
That's exciting. Sounds like exciting news. Omar, what do you think? Looks like V12.2 is going to go wide.
Yeah, I'm super excited to try 12.2 just to get that sense of how fast it's improving. We'll have 2 data points now. We can start to see really how quickly they can scale with this new approach. So they have a lot of regressions. So that's going to be really interesting to see. There's definitely some things I'd like improved with this first build, although it's really great. So I'll be really excited to try that. But more than that, I mean, just getting it out to early access testers, all of them, is going to be super exciting. Letting everybody sort of put it through their paces all across the country. Obviously, I'm in California. So people in Florida, people in other parts of the country, it'd be great to get their testing. And I'm super excited to see that start happening. I think there'll be a lot of excitement on X. I think the wide release is going to be incredible. Just seeing people's reactions across the country. It really is the biggest FSD update yet. So we've been waiting how long for it to roll out? 6 months more. And it's happening.
86
it's
years.
Really here. Yeah, seriously, yeah, 6 years.
Well, finally here. Wonder when it's going to roll out.
Yeah, a lot of stuff we've waited a long time for is here. We have FSD 12 doing really well. We've got vehicle shipping with 4680 cells. We've got the Cybertruck. I mean, think about this. I'm buying a Cybertruck with 4680 cells and FSD right now as a vehicle, which is pretty crazy that that's even available.
The feature is now, says Omar. Then why is it stuck down, Omar?
Well, CPI came in a little bit hot. I think really the primary thing that people are looking at with Tesla is when does the rate cuts start? So when that happens, affordability improves, Tesla gains pricing leverage without having to take a hit to their bottom line, and you have money flowing into growth equities. So that's going to be the thing. Right after, I spilled something. Right after you saw the Fed sort of announce their intention that they were done raising, you saw Tesla jump up like almost immediately. And I think that's kind of a preview of the reaction we should expect when the rate cuts actually do materialize. In the near term, it does seem like the market got a little bit overexcited. They were giving, a 70 to 90% chance of a March rate cut. Now it's down to like 7%. Everybody agrees there's no March rate cut. There probably isn't going to be a May cut either. So we're really probably looking at the back half of this year. That's probably the most important thing for the stock, right? And then, I think really you have, look at the story today, somebody died while using FSD beta, whatever, this kind of thing. So lots of negativity, people kind of see blood, but I'm feeling kind of bullish. I'm buying some more shares. Maybe it'll be a mistake. Maybe it won't be. But I think people are really underestimating how everything we've seen weighing Tesla down will bounce it right back up once this rate environment changes. And the Fed has basically telegraphed it's basically over. We're just trying to decide when exactly to cut the rates now. But we are on track for, I think, a few of them in the second half of this year.
Do you think
And then, especially the deflation story in China is really interesting.
Before we get to that, do you think the Fed would cut rates or hesitate to cut rates before the election?
No, I think the Fed theoretically is not supposed to influence or be influenced by politics. So they're going to be making their decision entirely based on economic factors. Do they think that we are on track to reach 2%? It doesn't mean that we have to hit 2%, but we just have to look like we're definitely getting to 2%. So one thing, for example, if there was deflation in China and there was some spillover for that, right? China exports a lot of goods. Now maybe you've got cheaper consumer goods in America. Now that's sort of softening inflation despite a relatively tight labor market. Then maybe things actually end up moving decisively towards 2% quicker than expected. And they start to actually worry about going below the 2% target. A lot of people are saying they're being too hesitant and possibly risking going below the 2% target and, spiraling into deflation. So I think all of those factors are going to weigh in on their decision making. I can't really predict the future, but it does seem like summer to back half of the year, things are trending in the right direction for that to happen.
Thank you. Man, look at this message from Habib on YouTube Live. My moderators, I have 4 moderators on YouTube Live right now, telling people to smash the like button, to spread the word. And Habib says, thanks everyone for supporting our community hosted by Yaman and the great speakers that come daily and offer their views and commentary for us to have these focused discussions. So this space has become very professional. I don't know how I feel about that. Thank you, Habib, Wes, Michelle, and Steve for moderating YouTube Live. YouTube Live hours count towards watch hours milestone. We need to get to 4,000 watch hours milestone on YouTube to be monetized. We reached the subscriber count quicker than I thought we were going to. Thanks, Omar, and everybody else who have liked and reposted posts, I've heard of people telling their family and friends and colleagues to subscribe to the channel, which is awesome. But we also have to get there for watch hours. And YouTube Live hours count there too. So if you could, please scroll up to the top of your screens and click to that YouTube Live. And keep the tab open, even if it's muted in the background. Those hours count. So people are asking for Machine to come up to speaker board. Is he even in the house? Not today. Maybe he's at Popeyes. Let's go to Sawyer's page for inspiration. Sawyer says, Cybertruck may soon be displayed in South Korea. Cybertruck is in a worldwide tour. I don't think this is just a marketing event, Omar. I think Cybertruck is the next generation in transportation.
I think so too. That's why I'm buying one. It's just really great in person. It's the best Tesla ever. It's big, it's badass, it's spacious, it's comfortable. It's got all the best technology that ever shipped in a car, steer-by-wire, 4680 structural pack, and all new air suspension, steer-by-wire. It's fucking awesome.
I think you said steer-by-wire twice. You're that excited about it?
It's that good on a vehicle of this size. Like, it makes driving a big truck feel like driving any other Tesla.
Yeah. There were some really cool pictures of Cybertruck that came out today, but I can't find them just now. Let me see if I go to Tesla Economics page. He seems to accumulate some good pictures of the Cybertruck. This is right. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Check this picture out. Actually, I'm going to tag the... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to tag this picture right here. I pinned it at the top. This picture is stunning. I really appreciate good photography. And I think you have to have the eye to take really good pictures. And this picture is, I think, stunning. So I took this picture and posted it on Instagram, Facebook. It takes 2 seconds to extend the knowledge that's concentrated on X to other platforms where there are billions of people who may not be on X. So, if you see a good post on X, take a screenshot or save the picture and then upload it to the other platforms. And then the other thing I like to tell people on my Instagram and Facebook and other social media is, I think for me at least, a primary reason why X is so much better than everything else is community notes. And if there's a good instance of community notes adding a lot of value and stopping misinformation in its tracks early on, I take a screenshot and post it on Instagram stories, which also copies it to Facebook, etc. I think people are really missing out. Corey says, get Machine on. He will fix all the professionalism going on. It's funny. Omar, are we seeing a huge wave of VINs, or is it kind of trickling at steady speed?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a huge wave, but I think we're seeing people taking delivery every day. I mean, someone DM'd me, they said, hey, I got VIN 1993. And I said, oh, I got VIN 1994. So that probably gives you a pretty good sense of, I mean, I know the VINs don't always go in word, but it sounds like they've produced a couple thousand of them so far.
Yeah. I just showed the picture to YouTube Live folks. So what I do is kind of pick up the phone and show the screen of the other phone. This is so amateurish.
No, I can help you get this working much better.
Yeah. But look at that.
We can integrate it so you just kind of have one thing to do.
You can see my hand shaking and everything. It's so funny. Anyway.
One good thing about YouTube Live is that people can send you tips or super thanks.
Not yet.
Oh, yeah, you've got to get monetized first.
Exactly. That's why I'm really focused on this monetization thing. Or one of the reasons. There's a lot of reasons. And I suspect that when you start getting monetized, YouTube probably pushes your stuff a little bit more, right? I would think. Because they make money when you make money.
Yeah, I make a few $1,000s off YouTube every month.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we have some questions for you on YouTube Live. Another cool function on YouTube Live that I think X should also apply is the chat is visible to everybody. You don't have to kind of like leave the space and go to the replies to see the chat. Like, why don't we have on X Spaces chat on the side or something, or at the bottom? You know what I mean? I don't need to see everybody that's not on the speaker board. Like, we can just use that the bottom half of the X Spaces for the ongoing chat. Question for you, Omar. When will you be dropping your next FSD drive from MJ?
Maybe today.
Oh, maybe today. There's a tease.
Yeah, we're gonna go test drive a new Model 3, so we'll maybe make some videos doing whatever errands we do today. And I went ahead and pinned my YouTube stats up at the top. So you can see that I have just under 40,000 subscribers, which is not that many, kind of medium-sized. And I got 1 million views in the last month, and that generated about $3,000 in revenue for me. So basically $3,000 for every 1 million views. And I've noticed they tend to pay a little bit more for Tesla-related stuff because I think people who watch that content tend to have like higher income and stuff like that.
Wow, that's amazing. When do you think
Yeah,
X
so
will pay?
I make like, $3,000 off X subscriptions, and then X revenue share is like $6,000 a month. And then I have sponsors for like 3,000 to 5,000, and then YouTube. So it's pretty crazy. Just literally tweeting about Tesla, you can actually, make like a salary for yourself.
Great. That's awesome. Teach us how it's done.
Yeah, I'll teach you how to do it.
All right.
You can do it too.
All right.
I mean, you're already doing it, but you're
starting.
The only difference is you're just turning on monetization now.
Right.
Actually, I was talking to Joe, and they were like, hey, we're kind of interested in doing the Tesla Live sponsorship.
Yeah.
So maybe we could work out something there too.
All right. Yeah. Do you want to be my manager?
All right, let's do it.
Sounds good. Thank you. Let's see if any other questions here. The moderators are answering questions. Oh my gosh, this is great, guys. This is amazing. This is really cool. Somebody check on Machine. He's not in the space today. Does anybody know anything about Tesla insurance and if it's doing good or not? The Void Tesla holder asks.
I mean, I've had Tesla insurance since literally the first day that they opened up in California. I still love it. My premiums are still significantly less than I've been offered for AAA and a lot of other offerings. I only have one of my Teslas on there, but there's my Model 3. But besides that, I've had a great time. I've had the only claims I've had to do were to replace glass due to rock chips from while driving on the highway. But the experience is great. They work really well with the service center, so they communicate pretty easily. I can either drop it off quickly and I'll get reimbursed, or I can wait. The most I waited was about 3 days for them to send a check, and I just rolled my car in. They had the work done in the same day. So I don't know how to really just say what it would be for more intense accidents or other repair work you'd have to do, but I've had great experiences.
Yeah, I've been a Tesla insurance customer since 2020. The biggest criticism of Tesla insurance I can give is that they didn't expand it to more states. They've got it at about 12 states. Those are the 12 biggest states, or some of them. But there's a lot of other states that would like Tesla insurance too, and they haven't gotten it. So it would be nice if it expanded more. That might suggest that they're not making too much money on it, or it could actually be a money loser potentially, in that they're trying to kind of subsidize the rates to some extent. But, generally I'm very happy with it. I would recommend it. Now, here in California, the safety score doesn't actually apply to our cost of insurance. In other states, that's different. So some people have said that it annoys them. I would just tell people who have Tesla insurance in their state, get a quote from Tesla Insurance, get a quote from anybody else. If Tesla Insurance is cheaper, then great, go with them. You can make a claim right through the Tesla app. It's a pretty good experience overall when you do need it. And I think I had like a rock chip on my windshield or something like that. You just pay the deductible, they cover the rest. It's great. So my deductible's $500. Nothing that happens to my car is going to cost me more than $500. And you could pick $250 or you could pick $1,000 or whatever you want that deductible to be. So it's a great insurance option. I'd like to see it expand. But people who have it seem to be pretty happy with it generally.
A solution I wish that they would consider is to allow for opting into the safety score system. So if you are a great driver and because you technically do save money if you have really good scores. So if you think you're a good driver, sure, sign up for that and you'll get your little bit of savings. But if you don't want to utilize it, and just pay whatever they believe is the standard amount. I think that would solve the issue in a lot of states where people have been complaining about that.
David Katz.
Hi, just a few brief comments. I think Tesla would like to expand it wider, and I think some of it is political. In my state, they've applied for over a year in the Pacific Northwest and Washington, and the insurance commissioner was, protecting the other companies that are underwriting insurance in our state. I think most people find it cheaper. It does go up with your driving score, especially for families who have young drivers. Tesla doesn't penalize you if you have an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old. They just take it from the day you start and use the metrics for how, that person drives. So that's huge for young drivers. I wish, it's my understanding you can't get a deductible less than $500 on glass coverage. I have zero on my policy with another carrier. There's just so much glass on these cars that we try and carry just in a comprehensive that covers the glass, a zero deductible. But I think a lot of it is political.
I have $250 on my glass through Tesla Insurance, which has saved my ass a couple of times. But I don't. It might be from state to state, or it might be different in California versus others.
Florida, I think, makes every insurance company do zero deductible on glass, so it is different from state to state. Thank you.
Michael.
Hey, so my experience with Tesla insurance is good and bad. I've had it since 2022. Initially, it was much cheaper than all the other options. They charged me month to month. I liked initially how they just went off the safety score. They don't care about credit history or accidents or anything like that. But I have noticed, from at least in Arizona, from December of 2023 to January of 2024, with my same safety score and same driving miles, my premiums have gone up substantially to where I'm considering maybe going out of Tesla insurance. Has anyone else had that experience?
I actually know one other person who lived in Tucson. Not necessarily that I went and visited just recently, but who lives there, who has Tesla insurance. They had the exact same thing happen to them starting around December. I suggested them to reach out to Tesla Insurance, and they were able to renegotiate their rate apparently. So I don't know if you'll have the same experience or if they just got very lucky, but that did end up affecting them as well.
Yeah, so I sent them an email. They emailed me back and said, we can't discuss over email, please phone us. But my friend in Arizona, for example, he just traded in his Model Y for a brand new Model X, the X Plaid, and his insurance, he was quoted much cheaper than Tesla insurance for that. He's going to getting a quote for like $158 a month, where Tesla now wants me to pay like $200 a month for my Model Y. And I'm like very religious with my safety score. Like I try to drive, I have a 3-month thing of FSD beta because a friend bought a car that expires in February 9th, in about a week. So my safety score is pretty much 100. In fact, I posted in the space once my 100 safety score. So I'm a little disappointed the rates are going up so much. I'm not sure why.
Well, insurance premiums have been going up across the board for all vehicles over the last couple of years. In fact, motor insurance has been, I believe, the highest inflation item among thousands of items. So Wes is answering questions left and right. Steve also on YouTube Live. If you want a question, you can go to YouTube Live and at the same time contribute to watch hours. I highly appreciate that. The link to YouTube Live is at the top of your screens. There's like a whole different conversation going on over there. That's kind of funny. Wes, if you ever see a question over there that's like really good, you're welcome to bring it up here.
Yeah, we'll do.
We have like 2 different streams going on at the same time. It's so funny. Even though the content is the same, the discussions are different. Yeah. Just Bobby asks for the speaker board. Do you find Tesla insurance increases due to false crash avoidance alerts?
I have seen comments about that. It definitely can, and there's been some success. I say 50-50 with someone calling and kind of complaining about it and inquiring into it. If it does happen to you and you aren't able to get any resolution from it, you're kind of out of luck. I obviously, with me and Omar in California, we don't really have that issue. But I would say just largely across the board. So look in a couple of states, the insurance rates have just gone up by themselves, unrelated to the actual safety score, the false crash detection. Yeah, I would say it can definitely be an issue. I'm hoping they'll continue to tune it a little bit as well overall.
Yeah, I would just shop around. Like, I wouldn't pick Tesla if I was paying significantly more. So, just ask for some quotes. Doesn't hurt. And just go with whatever's cheapest. Insurance is a weird thing. You can have a situation where everything stays the same, that, you as a driver stays the same, your car stays the same, nothing's changed. But let's say, as an example, some people come in from Guatemala and start, breaking in cars, and there's a rash of car burglaries, and the insurance company has a larger payout than they expect, then they might raise the premiums next year to just factor in the actual payouts that were made. So there could be something like that, or many other factors that might cause something like that to happen. A higher rate of crashes in an area, something like that. So just shop around. Maybe another insurance provider can give you a better deal, or maybe it's a industry-wide thing. Who knows?
But whoever's talking about the forward collision warnings, they do affect your safety score drastically. Like I was taking FSD beta almost all the time, but I took it off twice. I got two very severe ones. They weren't even real. I was just on a windy road. I thought I was going to hit a parked car, which wasn't even close to me. Another time I turned into a parking lot, and the computer thought I was going to hit a car off to the side. But I do hope with Tesla insurance, it's one area where the money and their mouth can be in the same place. Like we all know in this space that they're safer cars, greater features, so Tesla can put their money where their mouth is and lower the rates. So I'm really hoping that the rates are more competitive than other options done long term, because they have the data.
Long term, for the safest drivers, I would assume that will be the case. But remember, this is just new service. They're figuring it out. They're growing fast, battling dozens and dozens of things at the same time, if not hundreds. So, no hands mode as I put together my lunch. And the YouTube Live folks are in luck because they're going to be hearing everything as I prepare food, because I can't mute YouTube Live. I can, but then they wouldn't hear the speakers on X. They could only just hear me.
Did they get to listen to you chew?
I'm very careful not making noise, any sort of noise, because I know it's always unmuted on the other side. So, I guess they can tell me what they've heard somewhere.
Wow, that's a professional. All right, look, here's what I think we need to get you to do. So what we need to set up is essentially just a virtual machine that runs in the cloud, or something that runs on your local Mac or whatever, and it just simply takes the space and pipes the audio straight from the space into YouTube Live without going through the physical air at all, right? And then it's just completely automated.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just that, a lot of things are going to be changing in my personal life in the next few days. So let's figure that out after that, because something that we figure out now may not work after those changes. That's why I'm kind of holding off on that. That's the only reason. David Katz.
Thank you. Just to maybe wrap up the insurance part, forward collision warnings are sometimes a little bit random, and there is a class action lawsuit against Tesla for that. I don't know if they'll prevail, where some insured are feeling that excessive warnings are a way for them to penalize them and raise rates. The other thing is Tesla has kind of a patchwork quilt of carriers. Not every carrier is authorized to issue insurance in every state in this country. We give the states a lot of rights, so there might be 2 or 3 states underwritten by a certain group, and so that might be one reason that service is different. They also now have an umbrella corporation for Tesla Insurance, and I think they're trying to bring it all underneath their own house. The other thing is, if you have bundled insurance like a home, other things that you insure, you obviously are unbundling your Tesla car from that. It might cause you to raise some rates with your standard insurance when you separate the Tesla, but for a lot of people, it still makes a lot of sense.
No hands mode. If anybody has anything to say, just say it. Can YouTube Live folks hear me cooking lunch, making my lunch? Open up cans, the water, nothing? Guess the meal game. Daniel Ramirez.
I can hear little animals screaming that while he's being cooked.
Are you safe? You can't hear from X. I muted myself.
You know, Mark Zuckerberg only eats animals if he kills them himself.
Oh, interesting. Habib says no background noise. Pilot dude says no, but we want to. I love this chat function. I wish we had this in X. We should have this X.
I know, seriously.
Yeah, it's so much better. And I can put people on timeout. Like there was somebody spamming the chat about an hour ago. I just put them in like a timeout, and I have options. You can put them in timeout for like a minute, or 5 minutes, or 30 minutes, or a whole day.
So with Periscope, which is kind of their still used for their live streaming functionality on X, they do have the functionality of the temporary chat messages that obviously doesn't have to be associated with a specific post. So with the notion that they've communicated, there's even been a couple little teasers for video feeds coming to Spaces. I'm hopeful we might see some type of integration with that where we'll be able to actually properly chat and have it be closer to YouTube Live. That'd be really, really nice.
You know, we could keep this going for like the old times for 14 hours and get it done in one day. I just need a couple hundred people on YouTube Live listening. Basically, a couple hundred tabs open, whether they're muted or not, and I can.
Wait, so how many more hours do you need?
2,500.
Okay, so you need 2,500. So let's say we could get 100 listeners. Okay, so that's 25, 100 hours, 100 listeners. So 25 hours of content would be needed with 100 listeners. Or if we could get to 1,000 listeners, we could bring that down to 2.5 hours.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So all we need to do is say, get Elon to come on YouTube Live or something.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. That's so funny. How funny would it be if he just like reposted a YouTube Live link? People would be like, what the fuck is he doing? Is he on drugs? that would be the articles written next day. It's so funny. Anyway,
We also need to get controversy.
Yeah.
That generates. I'm not a social media influencer at all, but I did have a video last year that went viral, like 33 million views in like 2 weeks. Just like a family thing, but I noticed if people start arguing in the comments, it just drove the engagement through the roof.
That's why we have machine.
You need to invite Dan O'Dowd on the space so him and Omar can have a chat.
Yeah.
We did that once, yeah,
Uh-huh.
a few months ago.
Do you think he's
You
gonna
know,
get in trouble, or is it just a slap on the wrist from NTSB?
Well, he's facing up to 5 years in prison, so he better not do it again. I mean, I don't think they would charge him for something that minor, as long as he just simply ceased and desisted. But they could theoretically. So he better not do it again. He's making this claim that somebody got hit by FSD when there isn't really any evidence that happened. And of course, this is an ADAS system. They have driver monitoring. You're supposed to pay attention. So all of these people who are blaming FSD for things are really playing fast and loose with the facts here. And the fact that he used the NHTSA and NTSB symbol is kind of evidence of that. They had to come out and issue a statement and say, hey, we don't agree with this ad. We do not endorse this ad. It's really important for us to be viewed as impartial, okay? We are not part of this dumb fight you guys are having about FSD beta, all right? We're just trying to make sure it's safe. That's it. We're not against it. We're not, fanboys. We're just the regulators. We're just trying to make sure nobody gets hurt. That's our job. And, they play an important role. So, honestly, although I do have some disagreements with, for example, I would like to see less nag and, cabin camera and stuff like that, but that'll come in time. Overall, they've done a very good job regulating this industry. So I do have to commend them for that. And they've done a very good job at making sure that they're impartial. They've made sure that any sort of Tesla haters who come on recuse themselves from Tesla-related matters. Dan O'Dowd has been talking their ear off, telling them to ban this. If there were stupid people in charge, they would have banned it. But they're actually smart. They're actually like, wait a minute, this could actually change everything. Because their mandate is to keep people safe on the road, okay? So if your mission is to keep people safe on the road, nothing is going to let you actually succeed in that goal better than this. So they're looking at it and they're like, this is potentially very big. We just want to make sure it's rolled out safely, people pay attention, yada, yada. The font size is big, whatever. But I think they get it. And I hope that continues into, the next administration and beyond. And these are the Democrats. The Democrats are usually the ones who are much tougher regulators than Republicans. Republicans tend to be like, okay, all right, do whatever. Democrats are much more strict, but even they recognize how important this is. And honestly, a lot of people in the Biden administration are Tesla drivers, ironically.
When do you think Biden's going to buy a Tesla?
He's probably a little old to drive, but I know that the people who are actually running the country in his name, they're Tesla drivers, and he can't even remember where he is and when he's president. He's like, 2011, was I president then? Am I president now? So there's basically these guys who are in his cabinet who are actually running the country, and he's kind of the figurehead. So yeah, those guys are Tesla drivers, interestingly enough.
He couldn't remember which country's president he was talking about, right? The last time. Was that the big issue?
Right.
There seems like another... I'm not following politics at all.
He couldn't remember when his son died.
Are you serious?
Not, even within a few years. So, I mean, the issue was basically that he had some documents that he had taken, classified documents, that he had taken home with them and maybe shared them with some other people. So they were trying to figure out whether to charge him with the crime. And, Trump had a similar incident where he took documents from the White House and they said, hey, can you give them back? And he said, no, I'm not giving them back. So they charged him under the Espionage Act as well. And so in Biden's case, they had a special counsel look into whether to charge him. And they basically said, well, we're not going to charge him because we don't think it was intentional. as would be required for us to convict him, we think a reasonable observer, a jury, would conclude that he's just confused and has no clue what's going on. So that's kind of like, wait, what? He doesn't know what's going on? Then he came out and gave an address and he said, hey, I know what's going on. I'm not, senile. I just knew when my son died, but I didn't want to tell him. It wasn't any of his goddamn business. It's like, really? So, yeah, we have like these old senile guys running for president in this country. It's kind of a strange situation.
I just had people knock on the door. That was weird. Did anyone on YouTube Live hear all that conversation?
Was it the FBI?
No, just maintenance. It was funny. I was like, come back tomorrow. That was not a good time. I got YouTube Live going. I can't mute YouTube Live. Oh, that's funny. I guess you gotta start from somewhere, right? Start from somewhere. And then I'll have to invest in some equipment later on. Step by step. The other candidate is not that younger.
They're both pretty old, yeah.
The oldest two candidates ever. Breaking the
Nobody
record.
young wants to run.
Breaking the
That's
record.
the issue.
Yeah. Breaking the record set by themselves last time.
At least he's not Justin Trudeau. As a Canadian, I can say that.
Oh boy. Half the space is Canadian, so just watch what you're saying, one way or another. I don't know Canadian politics at all.
Yeah, I don't think we want to get too deep into the politics rabbit hole, but
yeah,
it is an interesting situation because you see all these policies, and it's like, okay, like if the president is like confused, and like you try and imagine him negotiating like an Israeli-Palestinian peace deal or something, and he's like, huh? Who are you again? Are you the Israeli or the Palestinian? What? Where's the border again? Like, I can't really imagine it. So then you think about some of these actions, right? Like, they proposed only giving the EV tax credit to union-made EVs. Remember that? And they didn't invite Elon to the White House for an EV summit. They said, you did it, Mary. Even though she's completely failed since then to launch any EVs at any meaningful scale. Ultium's been a disaster. So you kind of think about it and you go, okay, who is actually pushing this stuff if the president isn't coming up with it himself, right? Or if he can be, sort of easily influenced. And to be clear, I voted for this guy. So maybe I shouldn't have. But, now they're asking me if I want to vote for him again. It kind of makes you think, like, who's coming up with this anti-Tesla, anti-Elon stuff? They had Starlink up for a contract. They took it out, even though running fiber is a lot more expensive. A lot of the rural areas that need this connectivity the most, sure, it's not as good as fiber, but not a lot of people can get fiber. Some of the money should go to Starlink as well as fiber. It's just my opinion. So you kind of scratch your head and you go, who is influencing these guys? Because, when you have a president who operates on principle, they can have all kinds of special interests come to them. The cable guys, Cox, Comcast comes to them and says, hey, don't give it to Starlink. But you say, no, look, this is what's going to help the most Americans. So you kind of wonder, who's really influencing some of these decisions. It may not be him or necessarily anyone in his cabinet, but just sort of, it may create a situation where these kinds of anti-innovation policies are easier to push through, I think.
Thanks, Omar. We have a new speaker, Marcus. By the way, Omar, people on YouTube live chat are saying that you should run for president.
Hey, so on the topic of politics, let's look to like state politics for the United States. and just kind of discuss for a second the fact that 17 states in the U.S. still do not allow direct car manufacturer sales to the public. I'm curious what you guys think about that and how much that actually kind of hinders Tesla's sales and outlook. Because my parents won't cross state lines to go purchase a Tesla. They have to come back. They have to pay sales tax directly to the state. They can't add it to their financing. It just causes an unnecessary hurdle. And I feel like a lot of people are in that same boat.
I mean, it is a little bit of a pain in the ass depending on where you live. But in 2023, the Tesla Model Y was the second best-selling car right after the F-150. And honestly, I think we got a shot at overtaking the F-150. So it is a pain in the ass, but it hasn't stopped them from becoming one of the best-selling vehicles. In places like China and Europe, you can do direct sales no problem. It's really just the United States, which is about a third of Tesla's global sales, which really has an entrenched dealer support in law, which is really unusual, right? Why would these sort of dealer-friendly laws be put into place? But they generate so much local tax revenue because when you look at the sales tax, which is the primary financing of state and local governments, a car is like, okay, so let's say, in California, I think they've got like a 9% sales tax around there. So the way it works is like, I might pay like a 9.25% sales tax in LA County. 8.5% of that's going to go to California. Then like 50 basis points might go to like LA County. And then like an additional 25 basis points might go to my city or something like that, depending on where I live. You can often have a sales tax that's kind of tiered in that way. So you think about like a $50,000 Tesla purchase and you've got this, 10% sales tax or something, that's $5,000 per sale. So these dealerships are extremely influential just because of the amount of sales tax revenue they generate, which is important for state and local government finances. So if they say, hey, this law is going to hurt me or this law is going to help me, they have quite a bit of sway. And they use that money, a lot of these dealers, they're really small businesses. It's like a single family that owns it, and they do very well for themselves. Not like a huge thing, but you can easily make like millions of dollars or something like that. So they become quite influential. They become friends with these people. They donate to their campaigns. And that's why it's been so entrenched. And it's going to take some time to wind this off. We have been making progress slowly. But really what I'd love to see is federal legislation that just says you can do this. You can sell direct to consumers. You're not going to buy a self-driving car from a dealership. We need to let these two models compete fairly. If the dealer model is better, then it will succeed in the marketplace. The consumer will continue to go to the dealer because it's better. What we have now is unfair competition where the direct-to-consumer brands can't compete fairly compared to the dealer model. Let the best model compete in the marketplace and win. That's all I'm saying. So if people want to go to the dealer, they'll go to the dealer, and the dealers will thrive. The reason why they need these sort of laws that protect their sort of status as the exclusive way to buy cars is because they know that given a choice, consumers would always just order online rather than go to the dealer. So I think things will change, but slowly. It's kind of a frustrating situation, but there's also ways around it. If you're ordering online, nobody can really stop you from ordering something online and having it shipped into your state. So they've gotten kind of creative. I mean, I think the funniest thing is like the Indian reservations. There's some states where you have to go to an Indian reservation to pick up your Tesla or service it, which is, it just kind of highlights the absurdity of the situation to me. Let's get some federal legislation passed and just end this nonsense now, right? Rivian's doing it, Tesla's doing it, Lucid's doing it. This is the way that people should be able to buy and sell their cars. I mean, you look at the FTC, and they just passed a bunch of laws or a bunch of new rules against dealers that are just ripping people off. Well, consumers should have the choice to just avoid the dealer altogether so they don't have to deal with all of the things that the FTC has listed that dealers do that's super unfriendly to consumers, selling them nonsense they don't need, like gap insurance and nitrogen in their tires, even though all air has nitrogen in it.
Thanks, Omar. I think Habib found his second coming in YouTube live chat. Very prolific. Thank you, Habib. Tesla Scope, I see you posted about half hour ago. We noticed a new Tesla software update 2 hours ago. 2022.8.10.17 on the Model S P85D in California. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yeah, so a lot of times we'll see an older software update appear on a third-party service. So the way that they gets posted is the first time we see any software update for the first time, it kind of automatically gets posted on X. And initially, whenever this typically happens, when you see an update that's like a year or so ago, usually we'll assume that it's just someone who either hasn't updated their car for a while, or it might have been a salvaged vehicle. And that was my initial assumption. But I saw that Teslafy and even another third-party service had also received that update for some of their vehicles on their own platform that differ. So a lot of the legacy vehicles do get updates. Kind of takes a little bit longer for them to get updates. Typically, it isn't this many years past for the actual branch that the update is based on. But it looks like there's something particular that Tesla wanted to get out that only impacted a few number of vehicles. Probably very much just little bug fixes, or it could have been a security update. We really don't have any sight under this yet, but it isn't as significant as it is. Typically wouldn't affect most vehicle owners.
I mean, for me, the biggest takeaway from that post is the fact that a 9-year-old Tesla is getting an update. Still.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is even in a lot of mobile phones, you don't see updates going back that many years. So for the fact that you can buy a car from almost 10 years ago and you're still getting quality of life updates, it's pretty amazing. And a couple comments I did see that it looks like it was going out to MCU1, which is basically the first infotainment computer that Tesla ever released. So yeah, the fact that there's still that much level of support is something that is completely unique to Tesla so far.
Any questions for Omar, Tesla Scope, or Wes, please request to speak. And if you're on YouTube Live, please smash that like button. Marcus, you're a first-time speaker. Welcome. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I started following Tesla closely back in 2019. Bought my first Tesla a year and a half ago. Have been following the FSD rollout very closely, all the way back to the first initial city streets beta. Am a FSD beta tester myself. Have a Model 3 Hardware 3 vehicle and eagerly awaiting V12, just like the rest of everybody. And yeah, I follow a lot of you guys on X here already, so just figured I would pop in and ask some questions on how you guys think about the community and where Tesla's heading, and some shortcomings and shortfalls that the company has and how they can get corrected, and just kind of see what everybody thinks.
Good. What's your expertise area? If I have questions in which area I should ask you?
Really just general. I don't really have a specific area where I know deep information. I follow Tesla Scope and Omar a lot for just general information. So yeah, I'm not really an expert in any one thing. I'm just some guy who loves Tesla and is a Tesla investor and has FSD.
Okay, great. Welcome then. Welcome.
Thanks.
Doc2 says, Yama, YouTube Live is blessing for listeners. It's much easier on my battery, black screen plus OLED, and audio experience much better overall. All right, that's good to know. Interesting.
I know it was a couple of days ago, and I think you had actually tagged me to talk. I was busy yesterday, unfortunately, but can I speak very briefly about the Model Y refresh?
Yes, please.
So obviously everyone's very excited, similarly to the Model 3 refresh that we just got. A lot of new changes, a lot of both interior and exterior changes. So my own timeline has been pretty much that we wouldn't see this until the very end of this year, very much going into next year. But there was distinctly in January, there were a lot of articles written, a lot of opinions that were saying that we were potentially going to be expecting to see something happening around March. So much the fact that Tesla, which I've never seen this before, had actually sent out an email to practically all of their delivery advisors saying if customers ask about this new rework, we're not doing it yet. We don't have any timeline for this. It may try to basically reiterate the fact that right now is a great time to buy a Model Y and to take advantage of all the discounts right now. And I just wanted to comment that I saw a couple of comments that were like, well, I don't know if I can believe Tesla. I don't. They could just be saying that so that they can, push for more sales right now. And I just wanted, I've kind of commented that myself in replies, but I wanted to reiterate that what I've said, with it being much later this year, this has been the narrative that I've heard for almost 6 months now. And so, yes, Tesla does have their own PR department. They do have their own marketing department. But if something typically matches what employees are saying and the people who are actually working on the cars, it typically is true. I think for anyone who is listening on YouTube Live or on X, if you were debating whether to wait for a Model Y for the rework, just if you need a car, get one now. This is a great time to get one, especially to save some money. The rework is coming, but it isn't going to happen anytime soon. Now, if you are anticipating or if you're waiting for the Model 3 performance and you really need that performance, that addition, then that's a little bit more worth waiting. I've been anticipating that to show up in the next month or two. A couple more prototypes showing up every few days. But for the Model Y, it's a great vehicle. As Omar said multiple times, it is one of the best-selling vehicles, and it will continue to be so. It's a great time to get one if you were looking to or wanting to wait.
I'm going to post a poll on YouTube Live because I can do that. And I'm going to ask, in the next 5-10 years, which one do you think will outsell? And then after the poll gets a few hundred votes, we're going to discuss it on X Spaces. How about that? I like this. This is kind of cool. Which will sell more by, let's see, 2030? Model Y or the Cybertruck? Now, no speaker talk just yet. We don't want to influence the poll. Okay. And the poll is live, I think. This is our first poll on YouTube Live. There we go. This is cool. So you think there will be a Model Y refresh, but not this year, maybe early next year, which I believe is, oh wow, we already have 21 votes over there. What the heck? What Omar said and Sawyer said yesterday too, that probably early next year is going to come to US. Maybe start in China again later this year.
Yeah, that pretty much matches what I've been thinking. Tesla's been having a little bit of trouble recently with some of their part supplies. That isn't distinctly that it relates directly to the Model Y refresh, But they've just refreshed their production lines for the Model 3. It's a lot of effort and a lot of time to do that you don't necessarily want to affect both of your production lines at the exact same time. And so I think giving a little bit of time to see how the Model 3 refresh works out, which so far has been amazing. We've seen lots and lots and lots of people making orders who were anticipating it. And even if you were waiting for the performance variant, make a test drive, try it out, use someone's referral code if you can. It is an amazing car, and it only shows what to look forward to, whether you get the long range or the performance.
You know what I'm really surprised about right now is the fact that Tesla is offering overnight test drives and millions of people aren't taking advantage of it. I think people just don't know. But I'm going to do it. You know, like you can literally grab the car for like 24 hours, run your errands, go to work for a day in a Tesla, see how it fits your life. What an amazing offer by Tesla. Ninus.
Hey guys, hopefully everyone's doing well. I'm more hopeful than I am certain that I think probably the refresh Model Y is probably going to wait another year for this to happen. I hope for Tesla to give the refresh Model 3 its time of glory, because it's a new hot thing in the market, and I think everyone would want this one first. Before they inject the new Model Y, then it's going to make it very challenging for people to buy the Model 3 over the Y if the price is close again. But it's definitely going to give the Model 3 a boost. The refresh definitely is going to give the Model 3 a boost.
Thank you.
Hope the Y delays a little. Yeah.
Your sound quality is horrible, so we're going to move you down. Sorry.
I think there's, for the same reason why they made the Y, there are definitely individuals who the Y is designed but more for them than the Model 3. I think definitely prioritizing, which is what they are right now, the Model 3 is important. But there will come that time where anyone who does buy the Model Y will want that. I mean, that's why it outsells the Model 3 in almost every market. So I know you did your thumbs down, but both cars are very important. I drive a Model 3 and I love it. I have the Model 3 performance. I've never really had it in my own interest personally for the Model Y. It's a little bit too big for me. But yeah, I think both vehicles play an important role, and I think giving Tesla some time to be able to kind of study and see how the new Model 3 rollout occurs across all regions now is very important.
Do you think he was at the concert or Times Square?
It's a train. I mean, I live near a train as well.
Yeah, me too. Doc 2 says, in a concert near the train station. I thought maybe he was in his car with the volume up or something. I don't know. Anyway.
It kind of just sounded like he was in the middle of Manhattan without voice isolation on. I heard some cabs honking, you know.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
kind of vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you guys think? Do you think the Model Y or the Cybertruck will outsell?
Outsell what?
Each other, one or the other. Which one will sell more? Model Y or the Cybertruck in the next 5-10 years?
Globally, the Model Y. In the US, I could see the Cybertruck being number one.
Wow. So then you must expect Cybertruck pricing to decline quite a bit, because there's no way. Even at $80,000, it's not going to outsell a $35,000, $40,000 Model Y, right?
You know, if they can hit, let's say, $50,000, so right now they've said $60,000, which would be about $53K with the point of sale credit. If they could hit, $50K and get down to like 43, then you really have something that's right in there with premium full-size truck pricing. So it wouldn't really be out of reach for anyone. It would just be a choice of whether you want electric or gas, and I think a lot of people would pick electric.
That's really interesting that you said that. Before we get to Tesla Scope, I'm going to unveil the poll results. 77% of people in YouTube Live said Model Y will outsell the Cybertruck. 23% said the Cybertruck will outsell. So Omar put a spin on it and said, globally, Model Y, but maybe in the US, and if they bring the price down to originally promised levels, let's say below 50, then maybe the Cybertruck will outside. And I agree. I agree with that take. So what do you have to say for yourself? YouTube Live folks, what do you have to say for yourself? You guys voted 76% Model Y, and the X Space is disagreeing with you. We can get a bit of a battle going on here too. YouTube Live folks versus X Space folks. Tesla scope.
I'd also agree with Omar. When I bought this Model 3 Performance, I paid after taxes and everything. I paid about $86,000 for it. I could have afforded pretty much a lot of the baseline, at least at the time the baseline Model S or X. I could have gotten basically any vehicle I wanted, but I still chose this. And just a couple of years later, the vehicle pretty much went down to $56,000. So it dropped down a lot, and I expect the exact same thing to happen with the Cybertruck. Now, I got a lot of benefits. I'm one of the very few Model 3s that have full self-driving on it, full free supercharging for life. I got full self-driving for about $3,000 at the time. So there's a lot of benefits that I got to take advantage of for paying a little bit more. But I expect the Cybertruck to kind of fall in the same line where, while it's very expensive now, it probably is going to dip down to the $50,000-$60,000 range, if not within a year, but probably a couple of years from now. Tesla's doing very well with their orders for both the Cyber Beast as well as just the long range in general. I don't expect the price to drop down immediately, but it will with time. And I think that will be a very instrumental time for sales. More and more, we're seeing more and more just vehicle owners and celebrities taking advantage and buying the Cybertruck and taking delivery of it. And the more we see them on the road, the more we see, anyone who looks up at celebrities or people you look up to taking delivery of these vehicles. It definitely helped with sales and with orders across the board.
So I went and looked up the average selling price of a pickup truck in the US. The latest data I could find was from September 2023, in which the ASP was $60,000, a nearly 6% surge year over year. So 6% year over year growth to $60,000. Now, Tesla says that by 2025, so we're talking like 1 year from now, they're going to unveil a Cybertruck that sells for $60,000, which is about the average selling price of a truck. Assuming it qualifies for the point of sale credit, which it should with US made batteries, that brings it down to 53. Then when you factor in fuel and maintenance savings, that's also going to save you a lot depending on how much you drive too. So we're going to go from very quickly today where Cybertruck is this extremely hot car being driven by celebrities, super exclusive, hard to get your hands on one, even if you have $100,000, to within 12 to 18 months, anyone being able to get one for no more than the average price of a pickup truck today. So I don't think anyone's really seeing this coming. They're saying, okay, it's kind of a niche thing. It's $100K. That's not the plan. The plan's not for it to always be at $100K. As they ramp up production, this thing is going to be a really good deal. So even if you think it looks ridiculous, you almost have to consider it because it just makes too much sense, especially if you run a fleet of these things.
It has the same effect as a lot of other Teslas where it's not a matter of not wanting a vehicle. If you can convince someone to test drive, especially if they've never owned a Tesla vehicle, they're going to fall in love. It no longer becomes a, do I want this? It becomes a, can I afford this? So once the cost goes down, I think we're going to see a huge, huge, huge influx of orders.
Thank you, guys. So we have Team X Space between Omar and Tesla Scope, and Team YouTube Live between Habib and Steve and Michelle. And Wes is Switzerland with a foot on both sides. But I do appreciate people who go to YouTube Live and add to the watch hours, which count towards monetization requirements. You can go to YouTube Live through the link at the top of the X Space if you can get a few hundred people in there, and in a few hours, like by tomorrow, monetization will happen. So I do appreciate people when, even if it just means you keep the tab open, muted as you listen to X Space, just keep that YouTube live tab open, and goes a long way in supporting the X Space, which is free and open to everybody. Any questions, comments, please request to speak. Pilot Dude says Model Y will have more production cap. Not sure what that means. Why would that be the case? Almost off-grid garage says why? Because it's cheaper. Well, you know, it's both things, right? The price, but also the value. Like the Model Y doesn't have air suspensions. It doesn't have stainless steel body. Cybertruck will obviously is going to have better safety ratings than any vehicle ever produced in mass. Doesn't have the bigger screen of the Cybertruck. Doesn't have the storage space of the Cybertruck. Doesn't look as badass as the Cybertruck.
There was finally a video of someone actually taking a steel ball and throwing it at their Cybertruck's windows, and it didn't even leave a crack or a dent. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know how the part allocation is right now to replace it, but
yeah,
it went perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's not bulletproof. Model Y is not bulletproof as the Cybertruck. It doesn't have rear wheel steering like the Cybertruck. It doesn't have steer by wire like the Cybertruck. So it's not just about the price. The price is important, but it's not just about that. And we're already seeing in different parts of the world how popular Cybertruck already is. The pictures and the videos are really incredible. I'm really excited for it.
I kind of want to just amplify just the importance of steer-by-wire that Omar was talking about earlier. It fundamentally makes maneuvering in a truck that size so much easier in every type of application, parking lots or so forth. Literally on my way back from Tucson, there was a truck that was parked close to a Supercharger location. It was kind of a little bit of a cramped parking lot, and they misjudged a corner when they were kind of going over a little bit of a curb, and they literally ripped a big chunk of them, their kind of their plastic, well, not the plastic, but just the hardened whatever side of their truck off. That might have at least survived a little bit better of the Cybertruck. Maybe scratched it up, but you're not completely wrecking your vehicle.
Omar, would you expect a difference in performance of FSD on either vehicle in the longer term? And why?
No. I mean, the Cybertruck does have a little bit of a better viewing angle, but I would expect the performance to be roughly equivalent on both of them.
Okay. I'm going to bring in 2 speakers. One of them is a bear. So brace yourselves, everybody. And Amy just joined YouTube Live. I sent her a moderator invite as well. Oh, the bear left. What happened? Anyway, we have 69 listeners on YouTube Live right now. Nice. William?
Hello. Yeah, I'd like to know the progress for FSD, the 12 version on Cybertruck, when compare with Model Y and Model 3. The Cybertruck have steering wheel and railway steering, right? And when applied to the FSD version, so what would be the difference or the advantages on Cybertruck? Is there any advantages? So could you please give us some updates on the autonomous driving, the plan and strategy on some Cybertruck? Thank you.
Omar?
I'm a little confused what the question was.
Me too. But I think if I have only guess, he's asking about FSD on Cybertruck.
Yes.
Okay.
So there is no FSD on Cybertruck yet, but they are working on sending an update out. So I have no idea when it's coming, but it's definitely going to run FSD, obviously.
Yeah, Model S and X hardware 4 took about a few months, several months, and they have much higher production rate. They had much higher production rate at the time during those months than Cybertruck does today. So it may take a little bit. But maybe Wes could answer that question, I think. Maybe Wes, or if Meta is in here, he could answer that question. Wes, do you have any opinion on when FSD might come to the Cybertruck and how to think about that timeline?
I'm actually surprised it isn't there already. It shouldn't be meaningfully different. Obviously, the cameras are in slightly different positions, and the overall dimensions of the vehicle are different, but that's not a huge deal. I would expect they're just optimizing for Model Y and trying to get that perfect, as good as they can, safety-wise, and then taking it to other vehicles. So I just feel like it's lowest on the totem pole currently. And also they might be changing other aspects of the vehicle that might, as they start to continue their ramp, they might be making material changes. Like they might be changing the vehicle dynamics to this extent that might be material for FSD. So in the way that the vehicle handles and maneuvers. So I think that the four-wheel steering aspect of it causes a pretty big delta in that respect if FSD is able to use that, which I assume that it would. So the agility and the handling and the dynamics are materially different. So that's why I expect that it hasn't come out yet.
Got it. Thank you, Wes. Tesla Scope, do you have a view on when Cybertruck may get the FSD?
Yeah, so I had to hunt down the post. So this actually, I meant to share this publicly. It's only currently on as a subscription post. But on the 4th of this month, I had shared some breaking news. Tesla has recently resumed testing basic autopilot on company-owned Cybertrucks, primarily in Austin. This testing is being supplemented by video and telemetry from delivered vehicles, however, to a lesser degree. While we believe that full self-driving beta is also being tested, we've not been able to confirm this with our sources at this time. The rough estimate for public release given by an employee overseeing this testing was by the end of March, but could come much sooner. So Tesla has at least initially started testing autopilot, just base autopilot on their Cybertruck vehicles. They hadn't done so primarily on their release candidate vehicles because they were mostly testing the actual physical parts and some of the components. But testing has resumed as of about a little bit over a week ago. What that tells to me is that they, as said by a lot of the opinions, they're still working on things. They're still trying to make sure that it is completely safe for everyone, especially once it goes out to more vehicles. I think the estimation of the timeline of towards the end of March is pretty reasonable. That gives ample time for them to keep working on things. And you don't typically want to sell a vehicle, especially with one of the primary unique notions not being able to be accessed. I know a lot of individuals that hadn't had the ultrasonics kind of went through that as well for a long time. So I think I would say, to summarize, for sometime around March, either beginning of March or towards the end of March.
There you go, William. Does that answer your question?
Yes, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks to the speakers. That was awesome.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Wasn't talking to you. Google. Chansu?
Hey, can I ask Wes a question about data training?
Yes, sorry, I just had to unplug something. Go ahead.
Yeah, so let's say if as Tesla adds completely new vehicles to the fleet, like Cybertruck or Gen 3 and maybe Cybervan and whatnot, does that mean the AI compute in the background, do they have to, let's say, can they reuse the video data from other types of vehicles to the new vehicle, or do they have to, start from scratch and regather everything, and then they can do, FSD, for example?
I'd assume that they would be able to reuse just about everything that they have. Remember, they can create from the video images, they can stitch those together and create ground truth from NERFs, the neural radiance fields. That was an Ashok patent from a long time ago. So I imagine that that is very easy. Well, maybe not easy, but very within their capabilities to reuse that video. And it shouldn't be that different. It's not materially different enough for it to be something that would cause them to have to retrain for. I'd also expect that once they're closer to solving full self-driving, they should also see, in large part, the ability for the training data to apply to a multitude of different vehicles, much more easily. So anyway, that's kind of the short version.
Thank you so much. The front-facing Cybertruck camera has a very different vantage point versus all the other sort of cameras that Tesla has ever launched. So that's why I was sort of asking.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, and maybe just to talk a little bit about that front camera. That front camera is very wide angle. And while that camera is great to have up there, it's for very slow speeds. It doesn't actually see great in long distances, and you have to de-distort that image drastically for it to be useful at anything but low speeds. So that's going to be predominantly for lower speeds. And as far as like using it for FSD, I can see it being used for like actual smart summon, parking situations and stuff like that. Cybertruck in particular used for the human to be able to see what's in front of it if you're doing more aggressive driving with, differing road conditions, where there's potentially rocks or large things in front of the vehicle, or you have to maneuver around, large immovable objects, like trees and walls and stuff like that. If you're backing in to something, you want to make sure that as you turn the vehicle, it's not going to clip a corner or a wall or something like that. So anyway, that's what I think that camera's for.
That's amazing. So let's say if vehicles like tall vehicles like Cybervan in the future, Tesla Semi has a lot of cameras up like way higher than passenger vehicles, for example. So having these sort of very almost like a top-down or I guess camera views of like sensing the world, does that sort of help Tesla to get better ground truth, or even help them improve quality of their training sets somehow?
Specifically for the Semi, that's a very different kind of modality and functional use case. So that training data would more than likely be very separate. I think that's why they don't have anything released for Semi yet. Not to mention the fact that, I kind of surmise for Cybertruck, but definitely for Semi, is that they're still changing that design because they haven't even built the full production line yet. So they wouldn't want to go ahead and do all of their training now and release something that might be materially different. So one of the reasons why I think that hasn't been released yet is that even though Mercedes has an actual level 3 vehicle that's been on the road now for, I think, like 6 years in Arizona and maybe other places now, they haven't, because they're still working on the actual production version of that vehicle. And I think things may change drastically in terms of like how that vehicle handles and potentially even the shape and weight and handling characteristics. So to answer your question more directly, just because of the height of it, it doesn't actually, at least I don't think that it would help, kind of like in an overall understanding of the world. I think what does help dramatically is the amount of miles that the fleet gets every day, and the ability for that amount of miles to result in better training clips, more corner cases.
Thank you so much.
Quick question for you, Wes and Chansu and Tesla Scope. Do you guys hear so when someone comes into the speaker board, do you guys hear a bloop? You hear that? Okay.
I'm not hearing it. That might be a setting.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch that. Let me see if this works. As a reminder to new participants of the space, when you come to the speaker board, please remain on mute and raise your hand and wait to be called upon. Alex, go ahead.
Oh, hi. My question is about Model Y. So I heard like Tesla is not going to update Model Y this year. Do you know why this is the case?
Yeah, I answered that in your replies, buddy. I said,
okay, thank you.
They're busy with other things right now.
So Tesla's ramping up Cybertruck. They've just updated their production lines for the Model 3. They had a little bit of time to study that and to see how everything goes, as well as not to put too much on their plate. They've also been internally dealing with a couple issues with part supplies. So essentially all these things combined, as well as the fact that the Model Y is still and will be one of their best-selling vehicles, there's not too much need to prioritize the refresh immediately.
Exactly. Thank you, Tesla Scope. Any other questions, comments? Please request to speak. The space has been going on for 2.5 hours. We have YouTube Live going on at the same time. YouTube Live hours count toward monetization requirements, and it's the fastest way to get to 4,000 hours. Therefore, if you could please go to YouTube Live through the link at the top of your screens, I would highly appreciate that. And those of you in YouTube Live, please smash that like button so that we can spread the word to others as well. Tesla Scope, what's unique about the current situation we're in on FSD timeline is that we haven't heard anything about a V13. Do you think there will be a V13? Because if you remember, in previous versions, like this time on V11, we were hearing a lot about V12, how it's going to be end-to-end, it's reserved for end-to-end neural networks, but we haven't heard anything beyond V12. What do you think about that?
I think we're either too early to hear about it, or it's just the notion that the architecture that version 12 is based on and built on is essentially, potentially, finally the solution. In principle, if you treat end-to-end correctly, it is able to handle almost all cases, all edge cases that it comes across in just general driving. We also have Tesla, and this is while version 12 was in development and even being tested, Tesla ramped up hiring across multiple countries, not just the United States, not just Canada, but multiple European countries. They ramped up hiring in New Zealand, in Australia, and these are all roles that are distinctly focused around testing cutting-edge versions of V12 builds. The importance of why this is needed is, well, you can build end-to-end, and you can have it mostly used in other regions. You typically want to have the essentially the unique models built for every single country more so reflect the typical best fit driving habits for that region. Every region, well, obviously, you get in a car and it's very similar. there will be regional differences. There's different ways you literally drive on the road. There's different ways you treat how you get around other vehicles, whether you're allowed to get around them or not. And this goes on for dozens and dozens and dozens of things you have to test for and make sure you're handling correctly. So I think this, number one, shows the confidence that Tesla has with version 12, because even with version 11, Tesla first started testing version 11, or just FSD in general, outside of the United States just about 2.5 years ago, where we saw the first right-hand drive vehicles running FSD on company-owned vehicles. And this was still very few employees were hired for this. We've seen them significantly ramp up hiring in this department. So I think that we're not going to see any news for version 13 for a long time, especially if Tesla continues in the direction they are, with just the intent and the hope that version 12 is kind of the, at least the, if it's not the final version, it's the version 1 of the going on from here on out.
Thank you, Tesoscope. Wes, would you like to chime in on that? Do you think there will be a V13? Why haven't we heard anything about it? Do you think V12 is what's going to get us to robotaxis eventually?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Telescope in that it seems like there's nothing bigger than end-to-end. So you wouldn't really change your major revision for things that are considered like relatively minor by comparison. My mental experiment would be like, let's say end-to-end by itself isn't able to get to the finish line, and they spend some amount of time on it and they say, hey, we don't think we can do it, therefore we have to add something to it. And that would be along the lines of like, I'm just being hypothetical here, but let's say they add some way to add real-time learning. So that would actually be huge. Like that's not something that exists today for a large foundational model. So potentially that might be something that you would change the major revision for. So that might be a 13, but I don't think they're anywhere near that yet, nor do I think that that's necessary. It doesn't seem like that would be something that they would need to actually like have robotaxis. As an example, I don't think that they should hit any type of bottleneck like that. But then again, nobody's ever solved it, so how would you know? But that's kind of my thinking, is that end-to-end nets is the end. Like you can't get any more AI than that. There's different ways that you could architect it, obviously, and that could. As in software, that's pretty much the case, is that even when things change, a lot of things stay the same and they still change the major revision. So it's kind of up to Tesla, what they want to do. Elon has said, V12 won't be beta, so he's kind of the determining factor there. That's one of the reasons why I think they wouldn't change it.
Thank you.
I kind of wanted to add one little thing to the last thing Wes said is Tesla version 12 that would be released to customers would not be beta, or if it would be that an eventual version of version 12 would move employees, and even Omar, including the beta label. But that was also the sentiment that was said by employees that I was communication back with last year when he had first posted that on X. So yeah, this still speaks to the principle that version 12 is their intent to finally deliver and kind of build this, at least the initial starting framework for the full self-driving. And anything beyond that, we might see a version 12, or might see a version 13, or we might finally see this actually being the first proper release of full self-driving, and then anything beyond that is just further iteration.
Thank you. That was Telescope speaking for those of you on YouTube Live. Oh, wow, we have 103 people on YouTube Live right now. Did someone repost what's at the top or something? It's interesting. Kind of jumped. Just a second ago, I literally just tweeted. We had 69 listeners in YouTube Live and 69 likes at the same time. Like a number.
Nice.
I always go to the replies when I see a post like that. Just to see the nice reply. Anyway. We have a poll going on right now on YouTube Live. Which is better, X Space or YouTube Live? This is really cool. I'm liking this. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. We've been going on for 2.5 hours. All right, let's see if there's any news from Sawyer. Duke Energy has agreed under pressure from the United States Congress to decommission energy storage batteries produced by Chinese battery giant CATL at a Marine Corps base in North Carolina over concerns that batteries pose a security risk. Oh my goodness. That's wild. This is a reneweconomy.com.au article. SpaceX is planning to build a $100 million office and industrial factory that could fit 15 football fields. Project titled SpaceX Starbase Office. Okay. More Cybertruck deliveries happening. Good. Cinder Ray says, listening on X Live is better, but the comments in YouTube Live is better. 420 next. Oh, Michelle says, if you've missed the beginning of the space, you can rewind on YouTube Live and watch 2x speed and kind of scroll back and forth. That's another function on YouTube Live that's beneficial. We need to get all this functionality to X. That would be nice. The Void Tesla holder asks, what about Elon's comp package? Nobody knows anything about that, do they? Or if you stay or not. Yeah, we don't know. We haven't heard anything about it. There was an article this morning. It's kind of unusual that we haven't heard anything about it. But, we talked about this topic early on today. If you want to hear about it, you can go to YouTube Live and rewind. But Omar said, things take time on the legal system. That was his primary point. Bobby Heyer asks, I'm new to FSD. Does FSD v11.4.9 park in a parking lot at en route? I've heard of one case of that from Wes Hicks. He mentioned it yesterday, but he speculated that it was probably an accident. And that's the only mention I've ever heard of that. V12, however, Omar has had a couple of experiences like that, so maybe it's a future that's coming with V12. We'll see. Tesla Scope, what do you think?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have the built-in functionality for. There have been interesting cases where it has by itself. Same thing with U-turns. U-turns technically aren't built into version 11, but sometimes the pathing has resulted in it and it's actually executed perfectly fine. But in both those cases, version 12 is the first build to officially support both the U-turns, pulling to the side of the road to just stop and park, and in some cases parking in parking lots.
And then the second half of that question is also, will it back out of a parking space at the beginning of a route? It doesn't go reverse. Do we know if V12 goes in reverse?
Not yet. So there's two parts to that. There is the reverse summon, which is not the official term, but it's the term that the community has kind of used for the smart summon, essentially being able to properly reverse back and to start driving like that. That's being tested as of the middle of January. And similarly, just the ability to reverse and kind of make small corrections is also being tested. But I don't think it's been observed in any of the version 12 videos posted by Omar, and I don't think it is currently enabled in any of the version 12 builds. That could change any day now, but as of this moment, I don't think it's currently available. It is a planned feature, so we will see that in the next couple months once it is been released to the public.
Tesla Scope, could you please repeat the feature again?
So it's essentially the ability for the vehicle to be able to reverse and make corrections. So currently with full self-driving, if you are on the road and someone kind of is backing out of a spot or even like pulling into the road in front of you, and your car, there is technically space for you to squeeze around it, but it would require for the car to reverse back, even if it's 10, 20, 50 feet. That currently is not available in any of the version 11 builds. It is a planned feature for the version 12 builds and has been tested, but it is not currently available or has not been released.
That would be a big deal. Thank you very much.
It isn't something that comes up all the time, but there are cases where not only does it allow for solving, again, just the end, be able to start and end at your destination, not getting stuck behind a large vehicle, but also for safety. There might be situations where a car is going to potentially back into you, and currently with full self-driving, you would have to take over and quickly reverse to make sure that you don't get hit in the front. But so technically, with the version 12 implementation of this, the car would be able to reverse on its own and avoid a collision if it was presented with that opportunity or with that situation.
Thank you. I'm looking at Joe Tagmeyer's page to see if there's any news from Giga Texas. I don't see anything. Any questions, comments, please request to speak. Thank you to the handful of people who are moderating the chat in YouTube Live. I highly appreciate it. Amy, Steve, Habib, Wes, Michelle, very much appreciated. Seems to be a good conversation. And thank you to those of you who came into X Spaces as well, and especially the people who are on both, just to support the space. I highly appreciate it. Reggie?
Yeah, Tesla Scope, question for you. So on the reverse summon, how many, will they measure that in feet as far as the distance they will allow a FSD to back up? Because I think at some point that FSD or Tesla will be sharing responsibility, or maybe it's a safety feature where they don't want the car to go in reverse too far down the road. And the second question with that is, when is FSD will be ready for a Cybertruck?
I'll answer your last question first. So Tesla has only started testing just basic autopilot on the Cybertruck about a week or so ago. So the rough timeline would be sometime around March. I don't anticipate it to happen anytime in February. There still needs to be a little bit more time for just the basic autopilot, but also the full self-driving to be properly tested. Tesla has only now kind of allocated some vehicles for the release candidate versions of FSD to be tested on it. So about a month and a half away at the earliest, I would say. If it's something happens sooner, that would be remarkable. And then your second question was regarding the distance as well as the kind of the liability factors for reversing. It kind of goes the same way as currently with going forward is while full self-driving still technically isn't certified for level 4, level 5, you still are in charge. You still are technically the one that is having to monitor the vehicle to make sure it's doing the right thing. With any amount of reversing, the assumption is that the back camera is going to show up on the screen as well as you can look behind you. So I don't anticipate there to be too much distance travel. And I had shared something to this. Okay. On a subscription post, this is on the 23rd of January, I had shared that this last weekend, Tesla began internal testing of a new end-to-end training campaign focusing on reversing up to a max of 50 feet and limited to 3 miles per hour. Reversing on full self-driving has not been tested on public roads yet. It's too early in testing, has only been trialed on company property and test tracks. So I haven't received an update since then. So if you are new to hear me speak or just my account, I have a good number of employees who essentially will leak or share information with me about things that happen at the company. So I don't typically try to request information. It's typically a one-way street. So I will sometimes receive information, then I won't for weeks or months. So that was the last update. It's been about almost 3 weeks since then. Typically, Tesla doesn't try to stay on the same testing track for more than a week to 2 weeks. Otherwise, these are hired employees, so they would essentially be wasting their time and their money. So further progress is anticipated. It's been made since that point. I don't anticipate that there might be any improvements in terms of the distance traveled or even the speed, but the overall stability and the time in which we might see this show up in a version 12 build is probably getting sooner or getting closer to that time. Thank you for the reminder. A lot of this information I tend to just share publicly, and I forget. I'm still kind of new to the X subscriptions and whatnot.
Yeah, X Spaces are great. You're more than welcome to join us anytime you want. I think X Spaces are deeply underrated. I think there's a tremendous amount of potential. I mean, look at what it's done without X team focusing on them. Just imagine what would happen if they actually focused on them. There's so many easy, low-hanging fruit that they can pick, like this live chat function. We should have this on X. It makes no sense to not have that.
Yeah, we have amazing community groups like this, but we've had presidential candidates, we've had major company owners speaking on X, on Spaces. We have great people talking every single day. So I think there's a lot of attention and necessity for them to build upon it. But we'll see how the rest of the year goes.
Great. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Cybertruck arrived this evening at Tesla Kitsilano location. British Columbia.
Hey, Yaman, can I get one more question in?
Of course.
All right. Now, since I do have a Tesla now, or at least my wife bought my wife one, and she has enhanced autopilot. Tesla Scope, I was wondering, do you think version 12 will be that leap forward, or we would have to wait to version 13 before we get a really good step change in FSD?
I think version 12, and I tend to have a slightly more optimistic, but I still try to toe the line of being neutral to not be too biased. I think version 12 is the just giant leap that we've been looking for. I had the opportunity to drive once as a passenger in an employee's car back on version 12.1, and we've seen about 2 or 3 revisions since then. And across the board, it improved many areas, even where I live, in just typical driving. overall, the general principle, which I know Omar said, but I would say the same sentiment, is that it feels much more human-like. It still makes mistakes, and there's still a lot of improvements that can be made, but when it makes them, it no longer feels embarrassing. It no longer feels like there's, my fiance and I tend to say, well, it's every single time there's an update that the car goes up by 6 months of a life or a year. So now it's a 17-year-old driver. Now it's an 18-year-old driver. This really seemed like it went up multiple years for the first time in a single jump. And I've been testing FSD since about version 9. So I'm looking forward to it, for it to go out to public release. If when possible, I would try to see if there is a way to trial it, whether you just buy it for a month to give it a try. I'm really hoping that Tesla considers just extending a FSD trial to all vehicles again, like they have in the past, or at least making it successful to try it out, because it is a giant leap forward. I'm still hoping that's universal. I don't know what state you are. Obviously, you don't need to share, but a lot of the times experiences are a little bit better in California and a couple states. So of the employees that have tested it outside of California, they still had very positive remarks. Some are still neutral, but this is the first time where I've universally kind of seen that of what we have typically seen with the negative and bad is a lot less with the current version 12 testing, even since the first iterations back in the beginning of January. So still going to everything cautiously. It's still a purchase. It's still something that I would obviously take with a grain of salt and experience yourself. But I think version 12 is finally kind of the architecture we've been looking for to build upon.
Yeah, thanks. I'm in Texas, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, it performs great in Texas. Almost all of the testing that Tesla's doing, even with the Cybertrucks currently, is primarily just in Austin. And so California and Austin are kind of getting a little more attention right now than other states.
Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, my wife was blown away about the high fidelity park assist. And that's incredible. So, yeah. Wishing forward for it, though. So I'm trying to get FSD as fast as possible.
Wife was blown away by Park Assist. This is the new high fidelity Park Assist?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it showed each individual pole that was sticking up. Obviously we pull in the garage. It actually shows a lot of stuff that, it has to draw out, right, and map out. So it is incredible.
Does she ever use FSD on her own?
She is, it's coming from a person that's didn't want a Tesla, wanted a Mercedes. But dealerships are dealerships, so they done their own thing. But no, so she's trying to use, I'm trying to get her to use enhanced autopilot. She's used it for maybe 5 seconds and was scared to death. So baby steps.
Good. Jeremy in the replies says, Cybertruck Foundation Series email hitting Chicago. For those keeping track, Jeremy says, 3 of us near Chicago ordered our Cybertruck the day after the unveil on November 22nd. One of us got the ready to order email today for the Foundation Series. Thank you, Jeremy. One benefit of being live for so many hours is that, it's live. People come here sometimes to share news, even Sawyer. All right, let's see what else. Jules, Tesla Red, says, yes, I love the new park assist as well. 81 votes, 82 votes. Which is better, X-Space or YouTube Live? 62% said YouTube Live. I think it's because of the chat function as well as the ability to rewind. But the sound quality is better on X for now because we're using kind of amateur methods to get the sound to YouTube Live right now. So that will also improve in the future. The YouTube Live is there right now just to kind of get to the 4,000 watch hours. That's the best way, the most accelerated way to do it. So if you don't mind, even if you're on X-Space and you prefer to listen on X-Space, please go to the top of your screens and click on the link to pull up to YouTube Live, even if it just sits there in a tab muted. I would highly appreciate that. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Tesla Scrub, do you see Ninus as a speaker?
I do now. I was trying connecting for a little bit.
Thank you. Ninus, go ahead.
Hey guys, I hope you hear me better now. Yes?
Yes, it's better.
Much.
Nice. Okay, speaking of Fidelity Park Assist, I think I'm one of those unlucky ones who still have the ultrasonic sensors, and I don't think we received that update. So I would really like to know more about it. What do you guys think of it? How is it functioning for you? And I'm really hoping that they would somehow send an update where we can get it too, because right now we don't have it.
AI Driver has the best videos on Hi-Fi Park Assist. Highly recommend people check out AI Driver's videos on Hi-Fi Park Assist. He seems very impressed by it, and he has a high bar to be impressed by FSD in general. So he's been very fair, I think, over the years. He publishes very infrequently, once a month or so, but extremely high quality testing, production quality. AI Driver's YouTube channel is really excellent. So he seems impressed by it. The videos I've watched, he says when you use it, especially in less than 5 miles an hour range, you can see that Tesla is preparing this to kind of expand beyond parking lots. So I thought that was an interesting take. Let me see if he can join us. If he's not busy, let me just DM him real quick.
Yeah, man, while you're DMing him, I would say this. Me experiencing it and going through, I think it's like less than 3 miles per hour, 3 miles or less, but it's a different world. It's mapping its own world out, and it's ready for that kind of summon kind of stage of it, because it's very high definition mapping, and it's drawing it, so it's not just doing some labeling, it's actually drawing everything out.
All right, I sent him a DM. Very unlikely he'll be able to join us, but if he can, we can ask him some questions about Hi-Fi Park Assist. Ninus, where were you earlier? It sounded like you were in the concert.
No, I have these Bluetooth headphones that somehow every time I have one, I think the microphone goes on to like bring in everything from the environment except what I speak. So it's just bad quality.
So check your mic mode at the top on the upper right corner. If you have wide spectrum, that might be why.
Oh, well, look at that. Oh, we learn something every day. But yeah, I was commenting on the refresh Model Y. I was really hoping that Tesla doesn't release it anytime soon. I still want to enjoy my older Model Y looking, and especially now that they're bringing the market with the new refresh Model 3, and that's going to take the crown and the attention right now. And then I want it to have its glory, the new refresh Model 3, and then maybe like a year later, then you can bring the new Model Y, because because I would be really tempted to exchange my current one with a newer one.
All right. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's going to come this year. Probably early next year to the US. How do you like your current Model Y?
Oh, I love it. This is my second Model Y. I had one about when it first came out. I put the pre-order, and we were waiting on it, and then I got another one the year after that. And this is just the best car you ever had. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really amazing how much Tesla progressed between the 2020 Model Y and the 2023 Model Y just in a couple of years. I mean, it's kind of day and night, especially the suspension system. And from what I hear, Cybertruck has an even better suspension system than the upgraded Model Y. All right, any other questions, comments? Please request to speak. Markets closed about 2 hours ago. Tesla closed down 2.2%. Amazon also down 2.2%. Apple down 1%. We had the inflation numbers this morning, came in a little hot. Headline CPI was 0.3% versus expected 0.2%. And core CPI came in at 0.4%. So that's a bit of a concern for the Fed. Immediately, the bond markets pushed out their estimate of a first rate cut out to June. So it seems finally that the market is on the same page that there won't be a cut in the next meeting. 10-year Treasury yield is at 4.32, which means mortgage rates will probably stay above 7% for now. Interesting times. You know, I'm curious to see what the Fed is going to do going near the election now. They're not going to want to be seen as political, so status quo bias could take hold and push the rate cuts out a little further, maybe even after elections at this point. But we'll see. That's not the mainstream view right now. It's just a possibility. Another interesting thing that's going on, natural gas prices are plunging for the last few weeks now, and now they're at the lowest that I've ever seen them, 1.67 natural gas prices. Oil prices, on the other hand, are at $78 per barrel. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Let's see if Yutzi is in the house to talk some macro if he wants to. Machine. I haven't seen him today. Wes is back if he wants to come back up. We can do that. Will Compilize posted a really nice post with some kind words. I highly appreciate that, Will. Thank you very much. Steve says Machine must be licking his wounds from the market today. Well, we went on for 3 hours today. Congratulations, everybody. It almost feels like the old times. I want to keep this YouTube live going a little bit more because it does count towards watch hours, and that's the limiting factor right now on monetization. Because we did go above 1,000 on subscribers, but there are 2 milestones that needs to be met. So I'm going to be posting YouTube live as well as at the same time as X Spaces. I think we had about 60, 70 people throughout the day on YouTube live. So 3 hours times the average number of people, that should be 200 plus hours added. And we have to get to 4,000 hours on watch hours. So the more people times the longer hours, that'll get us there, get the account there sooner. We have Freddie coming up as a speaker. Oh, didn't work. Freddie, you may request to speak again. Lyft just corrected its earnings press release, says it means EBITDA margin expansion will be 50 basis points, not 500 basis points. Shares went from plus 60% in after hours to plus 15%. Wow. This was tweeted by Deidre Bosa, CNBC Tech Check anchor and reporter. That's the first I've ever seen it, and she says the same. Never seen anything like this. Lyft just corrected its earnings press release, says it means EBITDA margin expansion will be 50 basis points, not 500 basis points. That is insane. So just the absurd amount of volatility after hours in Lyft stock. And Tesla investor relations chief Martin Viecha just retweeted it and said, definitely the #1 nightmare of any investor relations person, gave me chills. That's wild. How do you make that? Somebody getting fired, Steve says. I agree. There's no coming back from that. Quite a few people in the replies are asking for the soup nuts to come back. Maybe we can do like a soup nuts a day, special day. All right. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, we'll end the space. Going on for 3 hours today. This is probably the longest one we had in 2024. Highly appreciate those of you who took the time to open up a tab on YouTube Live just to support the space. All right. Well, it's been fun. Thank you very much, everybody. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Good night. Well, we still have YouTube Live. What do you guys want to talk about? Anything? We can have our after party. How about that? Hit the like button. Smash that like button, YouTube Live, folks. We have 57 people on YouTube Live, and we can have an after party for a little bit if you guys want. Michelle says, keep it going. That's funny. Thank you very much, guys. I highly appreciate you all, sticking around with YouTube Live and just to support the channel and get me to watch hours. This will help quite a bit. After party! Don't tell anybody. Secret after party. Oh, Frederick, that's okay. Frederick says, sorry about that, Yaman. I was on my computer for the first time in Spaces. Didn't seem to connect. That's okay. No problem. Did you have a question? You can ask it here. What do you think about splitting Superchargers into its own company? Yeah, I don't think that makes sense. You mean spin it out? I don't know. Actually, now that we have it open to everybody. But why would you want to do that? Like, what's the purpose of doing that, you know? To raise capital. I mean, raising capital would be the only thing, but we're not limited by capital, I don't think. We have $20 billion plus cash on the balance sheet. So I don't know what the purpose of that would be. Just more complication. Tesla's parts are greater than the whole. I don't think so. You know, the company worked really hard to get to this vertical integration level. I don't think it makes sense to separate it just yet, and maybe ever in the future. Like that's one of Warren Buffett's biggest worries is, you know, somebody will take over Berkshire Hathaway and decide that the parts are greater than the sum, and decide to split it up. And if that doesn't make sense for Berkshire Hathaway, there's definitely no way it makes sense for Tesla, because Tesla is such an early stage disruptor company, and we have to be vertically integrated right now for many years to come. Yaman, are you keeping daily metrics and trending this info? I'm not sure what that means. Can you repeat your question in other words? Right now, our my channel's watch hours are, let's see, as of yesterday, okay? We're at 1,200 as of yesterday, but this one is gonna add a couple of hundred, so we should get to 1,500 hours after today. And the channel needs to get to 3,000 hours to qualify for memberships, super chats, and shopping. I don't think I'm gonna do shopping anytime soon. Maybe down the line, we can do kind of like a T-shirt or something with like, "What's your question?" I thought that would be cool, or Tesla will triple or something along those lines. And then supers are engage with fans who show support through one-time interactive purchases like super chat, super stickers, super thanks. Help you engage with your community and feel supported, YouTube says. With supers, you can build relationships with fans and earn each time a highlighted chat or animated message is purchased. So we can do that once we get to 3,000 hours. Right now we're at 1,500 after today. So we're halfway to that, okay? And then there's memberships with the same 3,000 hours level. Your fans pay for special perks and you earn extra income. Viewers will see a join button on your channel and video pages. Offer your fans special badges, emoji, and access to perks you create at multiple price levels. And then, but ad revenue share starts at 4,000 hours. So that's when watch page ads earned from ads on YouTube Premium on the watch page and shorts feed ads. That starts at 4,000 hours. So we're 2,500 hours away from that. So if we can get 1,000 people in this space in 2 hours, we'd be there, you know? But, and I appreciate you all, but we only had about 70, I think, on average for 3 hours. So that'll add about 200 hours today. And that's a great start. I mean, that's incredible for just 2 weeks into doing this. The fact that we had so many people on YouTube Live, so many people watching the videos, and subscriptions have exceeded now 1,139 subscribers. Usually it takes 2 years to get to this level. And, this channel got in 2 weeks. And obviously that's in part because I already have some following on X. And Omar put out a really nice video on his YouTube channel telling people to go subscribe to this channel. That was really nice of him. And so many people liked and reposted that video and others, and got us here and kind of, puts the responsibility on my shoulders to keep it going to even greater levels. Because I am really encouraged by all the support of all of you. So that's really cool, and I really thank you. Jeannie says, better to do Venmo, and I agree. we probably won't do super chats and stuff too much, but Venmo or tips through X take much less, and Patreon takes much less of a percentage than YouTube does. YouTube takes quite a bit of chunk. YouTube takes 30% of the super chats, correct, Genie? Thank you. Steve says 2 more weeks and you'll be there. Less if you do a couple of marathon streams. I agree. Maybe we should do like an old school marathon for one day, just to get to 4,000 hours. I mean, I guess we could do that. We could like a soup Nazi version, but I can't have speakers on YouTube. I mean, I guess I can. Interesting. The reason why the audio here is worse right now versus X Space, but it will improve in the future, is because I have this is a very amateurish setup. I have literally audio going out from one phone, going into the microphone of the other phone right now, traveling through air, and that's the problem. But once, I think Omar has a way of doing it directly online without leaving into the air first, getting into the air first. So the audio quality on YouTube Live will improve greatly. It's going to be just as good as X Spaces, and then we'll have the YouTube chat here. And I hope X also incorporates this chat function, which is really cool. I mean, we have essentially the chat function on X because you can reply to the space, but no one really goes to the replies. Whereas here, it's more of a stream. Ken says audio sounds better here than on X. That's because you're referring to my voice. So both platforms, I'm speaking into both phones at the same time. But other speakers into YouTube is probably worse. But another big benefit of here is, which I think X also should incorporate, is you can rewind to a section that you might have missed. Maybe if you start late, you can start from the beginning and then go 2X. You can skip through the dead zones like I do when I publish the edited versions and everything. So all good stuff. And if you have any suggestions, recommendations, the other thing that I really appreciate is when I publish video content, when people, in the comments to those videos, share any questions, comments about the video, which chapters you liked more, if you have any suggestions about the timing of the chapters. Maybe it was misplaced chapter, because I'm doing it all by myself right now on my phone, so it's not going to be perfect just now, but it will improve, I promise. Michelle says people here on YouTube Live can cut clips too, so that's good. Okay. Habib says streams will triple. Habib says you need to do an FSD live drive on YouTube. I agree, maybe one day. Steve says, yes, you can pipe in the X audio as a source and through OBS. Steve, is OBS an app? Habib says, sounds crisp. Steve says, sounds pretty good for doing it the way you are. Yeah, because I'm at home right now and there's no distractions. So that's good. I even put up some cardboard boxes in front of the window so we don't get some road noise. Frederick says, was going to ask Telescope to confirm V12 would be good on hardware 3. Specifically with Intel Atom, the screen rendering is so much slower on my 2019 Model 3 compared to my parents' 2022 Model Y. I mean, you're always going to have that situation where the newer models are going to have something better than previous models, but eventually the differences between hardware 3 and hardware 4 FSD performance shouldn't be noticeable in the longer term, because the neural network should be that good, that efficient, that it can run on hardware 3 hardware as well. But maybe hardware 4 vehicles will have some other functionality that hardware 3 can't do. The newer cars are always going to be better, obviously. Okay, Google says, secret after party, everybody strip. Yeah, this is really cool. You should post a pic of your setup. Teach Farzad how to do it properly. Other big stream tools are Streamlabs and StreamYard. Yeah, but for that, I think you need a desktop and a laptop, which I don't have right now. We'll figure it out. I just have to get over this weekend next. There's a lot of volatility, lots of uncertainty right now for the next few days. And then once I figure that out, it should improve pretty quickly. All right. 152 votes says YouTube Live is better. Two-thirds of the votes says YouTube Live is better than XSpace. XSpace will get there. All right, everybody. I'm going to start recording and go on my walk. Thank you very much for participating today and supporting the YouTube channel. Highly appreciate your subscribes, likes on the live session and on the videos and all the chats. And special thank you to all the moderators, Steve, Michelle, Habib, Amy, Wes. Very much appreciated. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Take care.